Welcome, brave souls, to another spine-chilling episode of our Haunted Tales series. Tonight, we embark on a journey through the towering giants of New York City, the skyscrapers that scrape the sky and house secrets darker than their shadows. From tragic deaths to restless spirits, these monumental structures have witnessed more than just the hustle and bustle of city life. They harbor stories of the supernatural, of lives lost and souls trapped in time. So, dim the lights, settle in, and prepare to ascend into the eerie heights of New York's most haunted skyscrapers. The Empire State Building, rising proudly in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, is one of the most recognizable skyscrapers in the world. Its gleaming facade and Art Deco design have long symbolized New York's ambition and resilience, drawing millions of visitors each year to its observation decks and office floors. Yet beneath the glittering exterior and bustling activity, the building holds a darker, more enigmatic side, one shaped by tragedy, restless spirits, and unexplained phenomena that continue to unsettle those who walk its halls. The construction of the Empire State Building in the early 1930s was a monumental feat, completed at a breakneck pace during the height of the Great Depression. Workers labored under grueling conditions, often dangling hundreds of feet above the streets of Manhattan with minimal safety measures. During this intense period, at least 5 men lost their lives in construction-related accidents, and some historians suggest the actual number may have been higher, though records were incomplete. The depths, abrupt and violent, left a lingering presence in the building, a residual energy that many believe still inhabits its floors. Visitors and employees have long reported experiences that defy conventional explanation. Footsteps echoing through empty corridors are among the most common accounts. Staff members working late nights or during quiet weekends have described hearing the unmistakable sound of shoes striking the marble floors above or below them, only to find no one there. These footsteps often appear to follow a pattern, moving from one hallway to another, disappearing abruptly as if the unseen walker has vanished into thin air. For some, the sound is sporadic, occurring at odd hours, while for others, it feels deliberate, almost like someone is retracing familiar routes left by long-departed workers. Sudden chills are another hallmark of the building's reported hauntings. Visitors often describe a sharp drop in temperature as they step into certain rooms or hallways, accompanied by an inexplicable sense of unease. Some say it feels like an invisible presence brushing past them, while others feel the cold settle over their shoulders and necks, prickling the skin in a way that is impossible to ignore. These temperature anomalies often coincide with other phenomena: flickering lights, the soft hum of elevators operating without passengers, or the subtle creak of floorboards in isolated offices. Shadowy figures are perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the Empire State Building's spectral reputation. Sightings are typically fleeting, a dark shape in the corner of one's vision, a silhouette at the edge of a hallway, or a figure glimpsed briefly in an empty elevator. Those who attempt to look directly at these apparitions often find them gone, leaving only a lingering sense that someone or something has just been present. Employees and visitors alike report a feeling of being watched, an unshakable awareness of unseen eyes following their movements through the towering structure. Stories of specific hauntings have circulated for decades. Some claim to have encountered a man in work clothes, appearing as if he stepped straight from the 1930s, wandering the hallways with purpose, yet vanishing when approached. Others recount hearing muffled voices, murmurs that rise and fall, never forming recognizable words, as though the past is trying to speak through the present. Even the observation decks, crowded and noisy during the day, have been sites of strange sensations. At night, moments when the city's lights seem to dim, shadows lengthen, and an overwhelming sense of history and lingering tragedy fills the air. Paranormal investigators have taken an interest in the building over the years, documenting cold spots, unexplained noises, and visual anomalies on camera. Audio recordings sometimes pick up the faint echoes of footsteps or voices that cannot be attributed to any living person. Some investigations even suggest that the spirits of the workers continue to trace the paths they walked in life, bound to the building by the intensity of their labor and the suddenness of their deaths. While skeptics often attribute these experiences to fatigue, imagination, or the building's natural acoustics, the consistency and detail of the reports leave many convinced that the Empire State Building harbors something beyond the ordinary. Despite or perhaps because of its haunted reputation, the Empire State Building continues to attract visitors from around the world. People come to witness the city from its soaring heights, but some leave with a story they did not anticipate. The faint echo of footsteps in an empty hallway, a chill that has no source, or the shadow of a figure lingering just out of sight. The building stands as a monument not only to human ambition, but also to those who gave their lives in its creation, their presence lingering in the corners, silently reminding all who enter that every towering achievement carries echoes of the past. One World Trade Center, rising from the ashes of the Twin Towers, stands as an unmistakable symbol of resilience and renewal in Lower Manhattan. Its gleaming spire reaches skyward, piercing the clouds, and its reflective glass facade mirrors the bustling city below. Millions visit each year, drawn to its observation deck, office spaces, and the poignant memorial that honors the lives lost in 2001. Yet, amid the triumph of its architecture and engineering, the building holds a subtler, more unsettling legacy, one that whispers of tragedy, lingering grief, and experiences that cannot be easily explained. From the moment visitors enter the lobby, some report an unusual atmosphere. The interior, sleek and modern, is usually filled with the hum of elevators, footsteps, and distant chatter. But on certain nights, particularly when winds whip through the streets and the city seems hushed, there are reports of faint whispers that seem to drift through the hallways. These are not the normal echoes of conversations or passing tourists. Instead, they are soft, urgent, and almost pleading, as if voices from another time are attempting to communicate. Employees working late hours have described feeling a subtle pressure, a sense of being observed even when alone. The sensation is fleeting but persistent, leaving an impression that someone or something is walking alongside them unseen. The building's reflective surfaces and immense height can create optical illusions, but witnesses insist that what they have seen is more than trickery of the mind. Shadowy figures are occasionally glimpsed along the edges of corridors or in the periphery of the observation deck. They are indistinct, sometimes human-shaped but lacking detail, appearing and disappearing without explanation. Visitors have reported moments when they were alone, yet sensed a presence beside them, a coldness or a brush of air, followed by an inexplicable feeling that they were not quite alone. Many describe a heaviness in the air, a weight that presses down on the shoulders and chest, particularly on the upper floors where the building seems to slice through the clouds. The echoes of the past are particularly strong in areas connected to the World Trade Center Memorial. Employees and visitors alike have recounted hearing distant cries, as though carried on the wind through the building's atriums and halls. Some hear murmured names or fragmented sentences, too faint to fully comprehend, yet haunting in their clarity. Security personnel have occasionally reported elevators operating on their own, ascending or descending without command, and lights flickering sporadically, casting shadows that dance across the walls in eerie patterns. These phenomena are sporadic, yet they recur often enough to have sparked curiosity and unease among those who spend long hours within the structure. One night, a maintenance worker staying late to check the building's upper floors experienced something particularly disquieting. While walking through an empty corridor, he heard a series of low, mournful cries echoing from the direction of the observation deck. Initially, he assumed a tourist had become lost or that a security alarm had been triggered, but the hallway was empty. As he moved toward the source of the sound, he noticed a shadow at the far end of the corridor. It was vague, almost translucent, shaped like a person but without discernible features. The shadow seemed to pause, then dissolve into thin air as he approached. Shaken, he finished his rounds quickly, yet the memory of that encounter lingered, as though the building itself had marked him with a story from its past. Visitors to the observation deck sometimes experience similar phenomena. On clear days, the view is breathtaking, with the Hudson and East Rivers stretching into the distance and the sprawling city below. But on windy nights or during storms, some report hearing faint whispers amidst the roar of the wind, voices that seem separate from the weather, carrying an urgency or sadness that is almost tangible. Shadows appear to flicker across the glass, reflected not from the cityscape, but seemingly from within the deck itself. Some describe sudden chills, unexplainable and intense, as if the energy of the past has penetrated the modern construction. Paranormal investigators have visited the building, capturing audio recordings that include subtle, unexplained murmurs and occasional electronic anomalies. Cameras sometimes detect faint shapes or movements that do not correspond with any person present. While skeptics attribute many of these experiences to fatigue, imagination, or environmental factors like drafts and acoustics, the sheer volume and consistency of reports suggest that the building retains more than memories of steel and glass. For many, One World Trade Center is a place where grief, loss, and the intensity of human emotion from the past remain palpable, manifesting in subtle, uncanny ways that defy logic. Even as the city around it hums with activity, the building holds an undercurrent of solemnity and quiet mystery. Workers, security personnel, and visitors who encounter these phenomena often describe a deep respect for the space, a recognition that it is both a monument to resilience and a site of lingering presence. Some find the experiences unsettling, while others feel a strange comfort, as though the whispers and shadows are reminders of the lives remembered and the collective endurance of a city that refuses to forget. For those who spend time in One World Trade Center, the building offers more than panoramic views or impressive architecture. It presents a chance to sense the intangible echoes of history, the subtle presence of those who are lost, and the enduring imprint of tragedy and resilience intertwined. Whether through whispered voices, sudden chills, or fleeting shadows, the structure stands as a silent witness, reminding all who enter that, even in triumph, the past lingers, echoing quietly through the steel, glass, and heart of the city. The Dakota, standing stoically on Manhattan's Upper West Side, is a building steeped in history, elegance, and a quiet, unsettling mystique. Its distinctive Gothic architecture and ornate facade have made it one of New York City's most recognizable residential buildings, attracting artists, celebrities, and history enthusiasts alike. Yet, behind its aesthetic grandeur lies a reputation far darker than its stately exterior, suggests a reputation shaped by tragedy, lingering spirits, and encounters that defy explanation. For many, the Dakota is not just a building. It is a place where the living brush against the shadows of the past. Among the most infamous ghosts associated with the Dakota is the spirit of John Lennon, the legendary musician whose life was brutally cut short outside the building in 1980. While the world mourned his death, whispers of his lingering presence began to circulate among residents and visitors. Some claim to have heard his voice in the quiet of the night, singing softly or speaking words that carry a melancholy weight. Others report seeing his apparition near the entrance or even gliding through the hallways, appearing as if he had never left the place he once called home. These sightings are usually fleeting, a shadow in a corner, a figure passing by with a calm, almost mournful presence, but they are described with such consistency that many consider them more than mere imagination. Yet John Lennon is not the only spirit said to haunt the Dakota. Tales of a crying lady have circulated for decades, her presence described as profoundly sorrowful. Residents recount encounters with a woman dressed in old-fashioned clothing, often appearing in the hallways late at night. Her sobs echo softly through the corridors, a haunting lament that seems to carry decades of grief. Some witnesses report that when they try to approach her, she vanishes, leaving only the sound of her lingering cries and an overwhelming sense of sadness that clings to the air. The identity of this mysterious figure remains unknown. Some speculate she is a former resident who suffered tragedy within the building, while others believe she is a ghost tied to the Dakota's long and storied past. Encounters with the supernatural in the Dakota are not limited to apparitions or sounds. Residents and visitors have reported inexplicable cold spots, sudden drops in temperature in specific hallways or rooms, and an unusual heaviness in the air that seems to press down on those walking through. Doors have been known to open and close on their own, sometimes slowly and deliberately, as if inviting or warning those nearby. Lights flicker unexpectedly, elevators halt between floors without explanation, and the faint scent of perfume or tobacco from another era occasionally drifts through empty corridors. These subtle phenomena combine to create an environment that feels alive with unseen energy, where the building itself seems aware of the lives that move within it. One resident described an unnerving experience that highlights the Dakota's otherworldly nature. Walking home late one evening, she entered the lobby and felt an immediate chill, as if the building were exhaling a cold breath. As she ascended the stairs, she heard faint music, a piano playing, a melody both beautiful and melancholy, yet no one was in sight. Turning a corner, she glimpsed a figure at the end of the hallway, man in a suit, appearing almost translucent, standing perfectly still. Heart racing, she blinked, and the figure vanished, leaving only the echo of the music and a profound sense of presence. Later, she learned that the hallway she had walked through was near the section where John Lennon was known to enter and exit the building decades before. For her, the encounter was chilling, yet inexplicably comforting, as though the building itself had acknowledged a connection to history and memory. Visitors have also recounted experiences outside the Dakota, near the infamous entrance where Lennon was shot. People report feeling sudden chills, hearing faint footsteps, or catching glimpses of a figure standing silently by the gates. Some even claim to have seen a man in casual clothing, his demeanor calm and reflective, watching over the entrance before vanishing without a trace. For those who witness such phenomena, it is a reminder that the Dakota is more than a residence. It is a place where tragedy and memory intertwine, leaving echoes that ripple through time. The Dakota's haunted reputation extends beyond specific spirits. Many speak of a pervasive atmosphere, a sense that the building itself carries memories of every resident, every event, and every tragedy that has unfolded within its walls. It is a place where the ordinary and the paranormal intersect, a place where footsteps, whispers, and fleeting shapes seem to belong to another era yet persist in the present. Paranormal enthusiasts, historians, and curious visitors are drawn to the building, hoping to catch a glimpse, hear a sound, or feel the inexplicable presence that has become its hallmark. Despite the chilling tales, the Dakota remains a symbol of architectural grandeur and historical significance, drawing people who appreciate its beauty, history, and the stories whispered within its walls. For those who encountered the supernatural, here it is an experience that leaves a lasting impression, an eerie but fascinating reminder that the past never truly leaves, and that some spirits are bound to the places they loved, lived, and in some cases left too soon. The Dakota stands as both a testament to New York's cultural history and a keeper of its darker memories. Its residents, visitors, and observers carry with them stories of shadowy figures, mysterious sounds, and fleeting glimpses of lives once lived, all coexisting with the bustling modern world just outside its doors. In the Dakota, the lines between past and present blur, leaving an indelible mark on all who cross its threshold, a place where beauty, tragedy, and the supernatural coexist in quiet, haunting harmony. The Woolworth Building, rising elegantly in New York City's financial district, is more than just a marvel of early 20th century architecture. Completed in 1913, it was once the tallest building in the world, a symbol of ambition, wealth, and human ingenuity. Its Gothic-inspired facade, intricate terracotta ornamentation, and soaring ceilings make it a landmark admired by visitors and architects alike. Yet beyond its visual splendor lies a left unknown, eerie dimension, a world of unexplained phenomena, ghostly presences, and whispers of the past that continue to unsettle those who spend time within its walls. From the moment one steps into the Woolworth Building's grand lobby, a sense of history is palpable. The marble floors, vaulted ceilings, and ornate fixtures convey a time when craftsmanship and grandeur were paramount. However, alongside this architectural majesty comes an atmosphere that many describe as unusual, a quiet energy that seems to linger in the corners. Employees working late hours often report hearing footsteps echoing through empty corridors, particularly on the upper floors. The sounds are distinct: the tapping of shoes against polished floors, or the scuff of someone walking along the hallway. Yet, when they investigate, no one is there. These occurrences have persisted for decades, leading many to believe that the building itself retains the movements and energy of those who once walked its halls. Shadowy figures are another common phenomenon in the Woolworth Building. Witnesses often describe fleeting forms that appear in the periphery of vision. Dark silhouettes moving deliberately, yet without clarity of form. These figures are usually seen in hallways or near stairwells, sometimes pausing before vanishing as soon as they are approached. The shape seemed almost translucent, yet fully formed enough to suggest intent. When he tried to follow it, the figure dissipated into the shadows, leaving him with a chilling awareness that the building's history was watching him. Some encounters are more subtle but equally unsettling. Cold spots appear unpredictably throughout the structure. Sudden drops in temperature that leave occupants shivering despite the building's modern climate control. Doors sometimes creak open on their own or close slowly as if pushed by an invisible hand. Lights flicker in isolated offices, casting moving shadows that seem to dance with purpose. Even the elevators, though maintained meticulously, have been reported to behave erratically, pausing between floors, stopping at empty levels, or feeling as though they are carrying unseen passengers. These events, while sporadic, contribute to an overall sense that the Woolworth Building is alive with unseen activity, a structure haunted not by malice but by memory. The origins of these hauntings are likely tied to the building's age and its history. Constructed during an era of rapid industrial growth, the Woolworth Building saw thousands of workers come and go, many laboring under grueling conditions. Though safety was considered, accidents did occur, and some workers lost their lives during the construction and early years of the building's operation. Over time, the energy of those who labored and perhaps died within the structure may have imprinted itself upon the space. Visitors often remark that the upper floors, where the offices of early 20th century businesses once operated, carry a particularly heavy sense of presence, as though the echoes of countless footsteps, conversations, and daily activities linger in the air. There are also stories of interactions with the unexplained that leave witnesses profoundly affected. One visitor described being alone on the 36th floor late one evening when he felt a hand brush against his shoulder. Startled, he turned, only to see an empty hallway stretching into shadow. Moments later, he heard the sound of papers shuffling as if someone was working at a desk nearby. Yet when he approached, there was nothing. No desk, no papers, no living person. The experience, unsettling and surreal, stayed with him long after he left the building. Others have reported hearing voices, sometimes fragments of conversation, sometimes distant laughter that echo through the hallways but vanish when one tries to pinpoint the source. Paranormal investigators and enthusiasts have occasionally explored the Woolworth Building, capturing audio anomalies, unexplained shadows on camera, and temperature fluctuations that defy logical explanation. While skeptics may attribute these experiences to fatigue, the building's acoustics, or imagination, the frequency and consistency of reports from workers, residents, and visitors suggest that something beyond ordinary perception resides within the structure. The Woolworth Building, with its Gothic design and towering presence, seems to act as a vessel for history, holding traces of all who have passed through its corridors. Even today, amid modern offices and bustling activity, the Woolworth Building retains an aura of quiet mystery. Tourists and locals alike feel a subtle tension as they walk its halls, a sense that the building carries more than just human activity, carries memory, presence, and perhaps even consciousness. The shadows, cold spots, and unexplained noises serve as a reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that the lives, labors, and tragedies that occurred within the building are etched into its very structure. For those who spend time within the Woolworth Building, the experience is often twofold: admiration for its architectural genius and an acute awareness of the lingering past. It is a place where beauty, history, and the supernatural coexist, where the footsteps of the living mingle with echoes of those who came before. Every shadow, every cold draft, every fleeting figure seems to whisper a story of the building's past, a story that has endured for more than a century and continues to intrigue, haunt, and captivate those who enter its doors. In the end, the Woolworth Building stands not only as a monument to ambition and architectural mastery, but also as a silent guardian of memories. Its grandeur is undeniable, yet it is the unseen and the unexplained that give it an enduring mystique. For those who walk its halls, the building offers more than history and beauty. It offers a chance to sense the presence of the past, to witness the lingering spirits of laborers, residents, and visitors, and to confront the idea that some places, no matter how solid, carry the weight of memories that refuse to fade. The Flatiron Building, rising sharply at the intersection of Fifth Avenue and Broadway in Manhattan's Flatiron District, is instantly recognizable for its slender, triangular design. Completed in 1902, it was one of the tallest buildings in the city at the time. A marvel of early steel frame construction and an icon of architectural innovation. Its distinctive wedge shape, combined with the bustling streets surrounding it, makes it a constant subject of admiration and photography. But beyond its architectural significance lies a history shadowed by tragedy, unexplained phenomena, and stories of restless spirits that linger in the building's presence. The origins of the Flatiron Building's haunted reputation can be traced back to its construction. In the early 1900s, workers labored tirelessly under difficult and often dangerous conditions. Among them was a young construction worker who, during one fateful day on the scaffolding high above the streets of Manhattan, lost his footing and fell to his death. Witnesses recall that the accident was sudden and the worker's life ended before help could reach him. From that moment, some say, the spirit of the man never left the site. Reports of his presence began soon after the building was completed, as people working nearby or passing the area noticed strange occurrences that could not be easily explained. One of the most common reports involves a ghostly figure seen near the edges of the building's narrow triangle. Witnesses describe a man in early 20th century work attire, sometimes on scaffolding or along the streets where construction once took place. The figure is usually translucent, appearing to float rather than walk, and it vanishes when approached. Some pedestrians who have glimpsed him report a strange sense of weightlessness, as if the air itself reacts to the presence, or an inexplicable chill that follows them after the figure disappears. For those who see him, the encounter is brief but unforgettable, leaving a lingering awareness of something beyond ordinary perception. Inside the Flatiron Building, the atmosphere can also feel unusual, particularly in the older areas where original construction materials remain intact. Employees and maintenance workers have reported hearing faint sounds of hammering, the soft thud of boots on wooden floors, or the echo of voices that vanish when approached. Some describe the sensation of being watched, a presence lingering just beyond the edge of vision. Cold spots are frequent in these areas. Sudden drops in temperature that appear without cause, sometimes accompanied by a heavy, almost oppressive feeling. These subtle phenomena contribute to the sense that the Flatiron Building retains the energy of its past, particularly the moments of tragedy that occurred during its creation. Visitors who linger near the streets surrounding the building sometimes experience strange coincidences. Photographers attempting to capture the iconic facade report mysterious shadows that appear in the frames despite the absence of any pedestrian or object casting them. Joggers and street vendors have described brief flashes of movement near the base of the building, a figure that seems to drift above the sidewalk before vanishing into the air. In some cases, the shadow is seen from multiple angles, leaving witnesses convinced that it is more than a trick of the light or reflection. One employee recounted an especially unsettling encounter. While performing maintenance late at night on one of the upper floors, he heard the sound of tools clinking and boards creaking. Assuming a fellow worker had stayed behind, he searched the floor, finding it completely empty. As he turned a corner, he glimpsed a shadowy figure at the end of the hallway, standing perfectly still and slightly illuminated by the faint light from the street below. The figure appeared to be looking at him, though no eyes were visible, and when he stepped closer, it simply dissolved into the darkness. The sense of being observed lingered for hours, and the memory of the figure remained vivid long after he left the building. Paranormal enthusiasts and urban explorers have long been drawn to the Flatiron Building, intrigued by reports of its spectral presence. Audio recordings in some of the older sections have captured unexplained thuds and the faint sound of footsteps. Security cameras occasionally pick up fleeting movements or shadows that do not correspond to any living person, while skeptics argue that these occurrences can be explained by structural settling, street noise, or optical illusions. The consistency of reports over more than a century suggests a deeper, more mysterious presence connected to the building's history. The Flatiron Building, despite its haunting reputation, remains a bustling center of business and tourism. People flock to admire its triangular design, photograph its dramatic angles, and marvel at its place in New York City history. Yet for those attuned to its subtler energies, the building offers more than architectural beauty. It provides glimpses into the past, moments when the boundary between the living and the dead feels surprisingly thin. The combination of its historic construction, the tragedy of the worker's death, and the countless footsteps that have traversed its narrow corridors seems to have left an indelible mark on the building, a lingering presence that continues to intrigue and unsettle. Even today, the Flatiron Building stands as a silent witness to both the ambitions and the dangers of early skyscraper construction. Its slender form reaches skyward, capturing the attention of millions, while shadows of the past remain tied to its corners, stairwells, and streets. Pedestrians, employees, and visitors often report a subtle but unmistakable feeling that the building remembers them, as if every person who has walked its floors is recorded in the atmosphere. The ghostly figure of the young construction worker serves as a reminder that even in the midst of progress and innovation, the echoes of tragedy can remain, bound to the places where history unfolded. For those who encounter it, the Flatiron Building is both awe-inspiring and chilling. It offers a connection to New York's architectural heritage, while simultaneously whispering tales of lives interrupted, accidents endured, and spirits who continue to roam the triangular corridors. Beauty and history coexist with the supernatural here, making the Flatiron not just a landmark to admire, but a place where the past is very much alive, watching silently from the shadows. The Chrysler Building, soaring above Midtown Manhattan with its gleaming Art Deco spire, is widely celebrated as one of the most iconic landmarks in New York City. Completed in 1930, its gleaming crown, stainless steel details, and intricate gargoyles reflect the ambition and elegance of a city in the throes of architectural innovation. Tourists flock to admire its unique design, office workers pass through its halls daily, and historians marvel at the building's storied past. Yet beneath its polished surface, some claim, lies a hidden world of shadows, whispers, and unexplained phenomena, place where the spirits of its past may linger. From the moment one enters the Chrysler Building, a sense of history is palpable. The lobby, with its vaulted ceilings, ornate murals, and polished marble floors, speaks of a bygone era when craftsmanship and grandeur were paramount. But in the quiet of night, or during the rare moments when the building is nearly empty, employees and visitors alike report a series of unsettling experiences. Footsteps echo along hallways when no one is present, moving steadily, stopping and starting, as though someone invisible is pacing the corridors. Maintenance workers have often reported hearing these sounds while performing routine inspections, only to find empty hallways and closed doors. The footsteps appear deliberate, measured, as if retracing the paths of people long gone. Shadowy figures are another common occurrence. Witnesses describe fleeting silhouettes, often seen in the corner of the eye, moving along hallways or near office doors. These shapes are indistinct, sometimes appearing only as dark forms against the gleaming walls, vanishing the moment one looks directly at them. One janitor recounted an encounter in which he saw a figure descending the stairs of the upper floors, wearing what seemed to be a construction worker's outfit from decades past. The figure paused briefly at the railing, then dissolved into the shadows as he approached. leaving him with a lingering sense of unease that persisted long after the event. Strange sounds accompany these visual phenomena. Whispers are frequently reported, low murmurs that rise and fall in tone, impossible to trace to any source. Some say these voices are fragments of conversations from the building's past, echoing through its steel frame and marble floors. Others hear the faint tapping of tools or machinery, reminiscent of the construction period, when workers labored tirelessly to erect a structure. These noises are often described as subtle yet insistent, leaving those who hear them with a profound impression that the building itself remembers its origins, the people who built it, and the lives that have passed within its walls. Some of the more unnerving experiences occur near the elevators and stairwells. Security personnel and office workers have reported feeling sudden chills or a heavy presence, particularly in sections of the building that retain original materials from the 1930s. Doors may open and close inexplicably, sometimes gently, sometimes with a sharp motion, as though guided by an unseen hand. Lights flicker sporadically, casting shadows that seem to move independently of the electrical currents, creating an environment that feels simultaneously alive and unnervingly empty. These phenomena, while subtle, accumulate into an atmosphere that some describe as heavy, a palpable tension hovering in the air. The history of the Chrysler Building may hold clues to these haunting reports. Constructed during the Roaring '20s and completed at the onset of the Great Depression, the building saw thousands of workers pass through its scaffolding, steel beams, and corridors. Accidents were not uncommon, and some workers lost their lives during construction, their presence perhaps lingering in the spaces they once occupied. Additionally, the building has hosted countless office workers over the decades, and some speculate that residual energy from past events, both joyful and tragic, has imprinted itself upon the structure. This accumulation of memory may manifest as the sounds, shadows, and cold spots that visitors continue to experience. One notable story involves a late-night security guard who reported hearing the distinct sound of heels clicking across the lobby floor. Expecting a visitor or colleague, he checked the area, finding it completely empty. Moments later, he felt a brief chill at the back of his neck and glimpsed a shadow flitting past the ornate elevator doors. Though no one was present, he described a sense of being observed, a subtle pressure as if the presence had been studying him before fading into the quiet of the night. Experiences like this are echoed by others, creating a consistent pattern of unexplained phenomena that have persisted for decades. Paranormal investigators have also been drawn to the Chrysler Building, intrigued by reports of apparitions, cold spots, and audible anomalies. Audio recordings occasionally capture faint, untraceable whispers, and security cameras sometimes detect fleeting shadows in areas that appear empty. Skeptics often attribute these occurrences to structural acoustics, fatigue, or imagination, yet the frequency and consistency of reports suggest something more than coincidence. Many who experience the phenomena insist it is not malevolent, but instead a residual echo of the building's past, a reminder of the people and events that shaped its long history. Even as the building remains a bustling hub of offices and tourism, the Chrysler Building carries an aura of mystery. For those sensitive to its subtleties, it is more than a striking example of Art Deco. Design it is a vessel for history, memory, and presence. Visitors and employees may glimpse shadows, hear whispers, or feel sudden chills, each encounter serving as a reminder that the past lingers, hidden in plain sight. The building's elegance and grandeur are undeniable, but beneath its polished surface lies a world of echoes, secrets, and spectral impressions that continue to captivate and unsettle those who enter. For the curious, the Chrysler Building offers more than architectural beauty, offers a chance to feel the weight of history and the subtle brush of the past against the present. Shadows, whispers, and footsteps remind all who pass through its halls that even the most celebrated landmarks may harbor unseen stories, silently waiting for those who dare to notice them. In this way, the Chrysler Building stands as both a triumph of design and a keeper of mysteries, a place where the past and present coexist in a delicate, haunting balance. The MetLife Building, standing prominently over Midtown Manhattan, has long been a symbol of corporate power and architectural might. Originally opened in 1963 as the Pan Am Building, it was once one of the busiest office buildings in the world. Its rooftop helipad even offering short-lived helicopter services to and from the airport, with its sheer size, iconic design, and central location just above Grand Central Terminal. It remains one of New York's most recognizable skyscrapers. Yet behind the glass, steel, and constant bustle, there are whispers of something strange within its walls. Whispers that suggest the MetLife building is not just a monument to business and progress, but also a place where the past has left unsettling marks. For decades, employees and visitors alike have reported strange experiences that defy easy explanation. Some of the earliest tales come from night workers, those who cleaned the building after the corporate crowd had gone home. They spoke of elevator doors that would open and close without being summoned. Even in the quiet hours, when no one else was on the floor, sometimes the cars would arrive and stand open, waiting, as though inviting someone inside. At other times, the doors would slam shut and depart, their interiors lit, but completely empty. The janitorial staff became accustomed to these quirks, chalking them up to mechanical errors. But a few admitted privately that they felt as if the elevators were responding not to buttons, but to invisible passengers. The flickering of lights is another recurring phenomenon. Entire hallways have been known to stutter with sudden bursts of darkness before settling again, even when electricians could find no issue with the wiring. Some offices seemed particularly prone to these episodes, as if patches of the building resisted the flow of energy coursing through its systems. Employees working late often complained of the unnerving timing of these flickers, which seemed to come at moments of deep focus or distraction, as though they were designed to startle. More than one worker has sworn that just as the lights dimmed, they glimpsed a figure across the room, a shape standing in the shadows, gone by the time the glow returned. Cold spots are another mystery of the MetLife building, often described by those who spend long hours in its many offices. Some employees say they feel a sudden drop in temperature while walking through certain hallways, or even while sitting at their desks. These icy drafts are not tied to the building's ventilation system and appear without warning. One executive recounted an unnerving experience when the room around her grew so frigid she could see her breath. At the same moment, she felt an undeniable sensation of being observed, as though someone stood directly behind her, though she found herself completely alone when she turned. The chill lingered for several minutes, dissipating as quickly as it came, leaving her shaken. Perhaps the most disturbing reports involve the feeling of a presence, an invisible watcher that many employees claim to have sensed. This unease seems most common in the early morning or late evening hours, when the building is less crowded. Workers describe the sensation of eyes following them as they walk through corridors or ride the elevators. Security guards on night patrols tell of footsteps echoing behind them, keeping pace but never revealing their source. Some have even caught fleeting glimpses of figures in reflective surfaces, glass walls, darkened windows, or polished metal shapes that vanish when given a direct look. One security officer shared a chilling story about a patrol on the 40th floor. As he made his rounds, he felt a sudden heaviness in the air, followed by a cold gust rushing down the corridor. He turned to check if a window had been left open, but the building was sealed tight. When he turned back, he noticed a reflection of a man in the glass wall opposite him, someone tall, wearing what looked like clothing from another era. Yet when he spun around, the hallway was empty. The reflection, however, lingered for a moment longer, watching him with dark, indistinct eyes before dissolving into nothing. The guard finished his shift, but requested reassignment soon after, unwilling to return to that floor again. The MetLife building's history may hold clues to its spectral atmosphere. Constructed during a time of great transition in New York, it was built over the rail yards of Grand Central, an area with its own layers of history, tragedy, and loss. The rooftop heliport also adds a tragic chapter. In 1977, a helicopter accident claimed several lives when a rotor blade broke loose, scattering debris and chaos across the rooftop and streets below. Some believe that the energy of such tragedies may linger, attaching themselves to the structure in ways unseen but deeply felt. Stories persist of restless spirits connected to the building's past. Some speculate that construction workers who toiled on the site may have met untimely fates, their presence still echoing through the vast structure. Others think the building's sheer scale, with its endless corridors and hidden mechanical rooms, creates pockets where energies are trapped, replaying fragments of the past like an old recording. While skeptics dismiss these accounts as the product of imagination, fatigue, or the natural creaks and groans of a massive skyscraper, the sheer volume of consistent stories paints a different picture. Workers across different eras and positions report the same sensations in scene watchers, unexplained chills, and lights and elevators behaving as though guided by invisible hands. Even today, with thousands passing through its doors daily, the MetLife building remains a place where the boundary between the living and the spectral seems unusually thin. Its grandeur and prominence in the New York skyline make it an undeniable landmark. But for those who have felt the chill of unseen eyes or heard the echo of phantom footsteps, it is more than just an office tower. It is a structure alive with echoes, a place where history whispers through the walls, and where the past refuses to rest quietly. 40 Wall Street, a towering presence in the financial district, stands as one of New York City's most storied skyscrapers. Its limestone facade, ornate details, and commanding height give it an air of grandeur, a monument to the city's ambition and the fierce architectural rivalries of the era. But alongside its legacy of business and ambition, there are stories less often told, whispers of unexplained phenomena that suggest the building carries more than just history within its walls. For many employees who have worked there, the building is not just a place of offices and long workdays, but also a place where the air sometimes feels heavy, the silence too loud, and the shadows too alive. The most common reports are of footsteps echoing through hallways that should be empty. Late at night, when cleaning crews or security guards walk the upper floors, the sound of measured, deliberate steps often follows them. Sometimes, the footsteps trail behind, keeping pace, only to stop abruptly when the listener pauses. Other times, they seem to come from the floors above, though the building's security logs confirm that no one is present. Doors also play a role in the building's eerie reputation. Workers have spoken of hearing doors creak open and close without a single hand touching them. In some cases, doors to conference rooms have been discovered standing wide open in the morning, despite being locked the night before. Cleaning staff recount moments when they entered an empty office, only to hear the door slam shut behind them, sealing them in with an icy gust that left them shaken. Though no danger ever came from these incidents, the unnerving sense of being toyed with by unseen forces lingered long afterward. Shadowy figures are perhaps the most unsettling of the reported encounters. Employees claim to have seen dark silhouettes move along the hallways or flicker across reflective surfaces, such as the polished marble walls or glass doors. These figures are always fleeting, never staying long enough for a clear look. They vanish the moment someone turns to face them directly. For some, these shapes are small and vague, like passing shadows. For others, they appear unmistakably human, tall and distinct, moving with intention. Yet when pursued, the hallways remain empty, as though the building itself had swallowed the apparition whole. One former security guard shared a story that continues to circulate among staff. While making his rounds on a quiet night, he heard the sound of heavy footsteps echoing on the floor above him. The noise was so clear and rhythmic that he assumed another guard must be walking ahead. When he went to investigate, however, he found the floor completely empty. The office doors were locked, the lights dim, and not a single person was there. As he turned to leave, he caught sight of a shadow moving across the far end of the hallway. It was tall and unmistakably shaped like a man, but it slipped behind a corner. When the guard rushed to follow, he found only darkness and silence waiting for him. The history of 40 Wall Street may offer clues to its mysterious atmosphere. Built during the height of the skyscraper race, the tower was part of a fierce contest with the Chrysler Building for the title of tallest building in the world. And like many grand projects of the era, the building was not without tragedy. Accounts from the construction period suggest that lives were lost during its rapid erection, as workers risked everything to complete the towering structure. Some believe that the spirits of those who perished never left, their energy bound to the very stone and steel they helped assemble. There is also the building's connection to darker moments in history. Over the decades, financial collapses, scandals, and personal tragedies have played out within its walls. Some speculate that the intense emotional energy of these events left behind an imprint, a kind of echo, replayed through unexplained sounds and sightings. Even the tragic history of Wall Street itself, with its cycles of loss and despair, may feed into the spectral presence that some feel within the tower. The building's architecture only adds to the effect. Its long hallways, tall ceilings, and reflective surfaces create a stage for shadows and sound to play tricks on the senses. Yet many who have had experiences there insist that what they encountered could not be dismissed as tricks of light or drafts of air. The timing, the clarity, and the overwhelming sense of being observed suggests something more deliberate, something conscious. Thousands pass through its doors, working, visiting, or simply admiring its historic beauty. Most will never experience anything beyond the ordinary, but for those who do, the encounters linger long after they leave the building. Footsteps that echo in memory, shadows that haunt the corners of thought, and the chilling impression that the building itself remembers. To some, 40 Wall Street is simply an architectural gem, a relic of the city's drive to reach ever higher. To others, it is more than stone and glass. It is a vessel of echoes, filled with restless presences that wander its hallways, hidden in plain sight. And for those who walk its corridors late at night, the skyscraper is not just a symbol of ambition. 33 Thomas Street, rising starkly above the Tribeca neighborhood, is unlike any other building in New York City. Known as the Long Lines Building, its windowless facade and imposing brutalist design have made it an architectural anomaly and a source of endless speculation. Towering at 550 feet, it looms over the surrounding streets like a silent sentinel. With no visible windows and only a handful of access points, it has long been associated with secrecy, whispered to house government, surveillance operations, and data centers hidden from public view. Yet, beyond the speculation of its earthly functions, there are deeper, more unsettling stories. Rumors that 33 Thomas Street is haunted, its blank exterior concealing not just machines and secrets, but restless energies that refuse to remain silent. The first impression most people have of the building is unease. Unlike the bustling skyscrapers nearby, whose glowing windows spill light into the city night, 33 Thomas Street remains dark, a solid monolith against the skyline. On foggy evenings, its hulking shape seems to dissolve into the mist, more like a tombstone than a functioning structure. Locals often comment that the building feels alive in its silence, as though it is watching the city below, keeping its own counsel, unwilling to reveal what lies within. It is perhaps this aura of mystery that first sparked tales of haunting. Residents of the neighborhood have reported hearing strange noises emanating from the structure in the dead of night, low hums that rise and fall, mechanical in tone but strangely rhythmic, almost like chanting. Some claim to hear metallic clanging echoing through the air, though no movement is visible from the sealed tower. On windy nights, whispers seem to flow along the building's edges, carrying faint voices that no one can quite make out. Those who linger too long near its base sometimes describe an unsettling vibration beneath their feet, as if the earth itself carries the building's pulse. The stories do not end with sounds. Several passers-by have claimed to see strange lights glowing faintly from deep within the building, sometimes flickering in patterns like Morse code, other times pulsing steadily like a heartbeat. These lights are rarely bright enough to draw attention, but for those who catch them, the sight is unforgettable. Security measures around the building make it difficult to investigate. But even from the street, witnesses describe the glow as unnatural, too soft, too erratic, to belong to machinery alone. There are also the accounts of figures. Shadowy shapes have been reported drifting near the building's entrances, appearing only for moments before dissolving back into the gloom. One story comes from a delivery driver who swore he saw a man standing at the loading dock entrance, motionless, staring straight ahead. When the driver blinked, the figure was gone, though the heavy metal door remained locked. Others described the impression of being followed when walking past a structure late at night. They feel the weight of unseen eyes, a presence keeping pace in silence, though the sidewalks are empty. Some suggest that the hauntings are tied not to the building itself, but to its secretive purpose. For decades, rumors have persisted that 33 Thomas Street houses more than just telecommunication equipment. It is said to be a hub for surveillance, a place where voices, messages, and data from across the globe are collected, stored, and sifted. If true, then the building has absorbed countless fragments of lives, whispers of conversations, cries of despair, desperate pleas, and confessions meant to remain private. Some paranormal enthusiasts believe that this energy, captured and echoed endlessly by the machines inside, may have formed a kind of imprint, a psychic residue that seeps through the walls. The result, they claim, is an atmosphere heavy with unseen voices, a building haunted not by traditional ghosts, but by the very echoes of humanity's secrets. Others look further back, pointing out that the land on which the building stands has its own history. Long before the skyscraper was erected in the 1970s, the area was a hub of industry and tenement housing. Fires, disease, and crime plagued the neighborhood in the 19th century, leaving behind countless stories of suffering. Paranormal historians argue that the souls of those lost during those times may have been disturbed by the construction of such a massive, unyielding tower, their unrest manifesting as the strange phenomena still reported today. Employees who have entered the building for legitimate work describe it as eerily silent, even by the standards of windowless architecture. With its thick concrete walls and endless corridors, sound carries strangely. One worker recalled walking down a hallway when he distinctly heard footsteps behind him. Turning quickly, he found no one there, though the echoes continued, as if an invisible companion followed just out of sight. Another spoke of sudden cold drafts rushing through sealed rooms, the chill lingering long after the air had stilled. For many New Yorkers, 33 Thomas Street is less a building than a question mark, an object of fascination, fear, and speculation. Its dark facade reflects nothing back to the city, offering no clues to the life inside, only silence. And it is within that silence that people's imaginations, and perhaps their fears, take root. Is it merely a monument to telecommunications, or something far more sinister? Do the strange sounds and lights stem from machines, or from something intangible, tied to the energy of the past? Whatever the truth, the building's reputation continues to grow. Those who walk by at night often quicken their steps, unwilling to linger in its shadow. Paranormal investigators listed among the city's most enigmatic haunted sites, even without the usual stories of apparitions tied to individual tragedies. In the case of 33 Thomas Street, it is the mystery itself that haunts, the feeling that the building knows more than it should, holding on to secrets that can never be revealed. The Seagram Building, standing sleek and elegant at 375 Park Avenue in Midtown Manhattan, is widely hailed as one of the most important modernist skyscrapers ever constructed. Designed by Ludwig Mies van der Rohe and completed in 1958, it embodies minimalism at its most refined bronze-tinted glass, clean lines, and a facade that emphasizes simplicity and proportion. Its design has influenced countless skyscrapers around the world, cementing its reputation as a masterpiece of architectural history. But, despite its minimalist exterior, there are whispers that the Seagram Building is not simply a vessel of steel and glass. Some believe the very energy of its past and the countless lives that have passed through its doors still lingers inside, manifesting in strange and unsettling ways. From the moment it opened, the building became home to influential corporations, lawyers, financiers, and executives who worked long hours behind its shimmering facade. The structure, meant to symbolize efficiency and progress, quickly gained a reputation as a hub of modern business. Yet, employees began to quietly share stories of experiences that had nothing to do with the logic and clarity of Mies van der Rohe's design. These accounts spoke instead of sudden chills sweeping through closed offices, of footsteps echoing down empty hallways, and of the distinct, unnerving feeling of being watched when no one else was present. The chills are perhaps the most common phenomenon. Workers sitting at their desks in climate-controlled offices have reported an abrupt drop in temperature, so sharp it raises goosebumps on their arms. These icy sensations are not tied to vents or drafts. Many describe them as localized, as though a pocket of cold air hovers just over their shoulders. One employee recalled typing late into the evening when the temperature around her desk plunged suddenly. She could see no source for the cold, but she distinctly felt as though someone was standing behind her, leaning close enough to breathe on her neck. When she spun around, the room was empty, yet the chill remained for several minutes before dissipating into nothing. Noises echo through the Seagram building in ways that have puzzled both employees and visitors. In a structure so streamlined, sound carries oddly, bouncing off the reflective surfaces of marble, glass, and steel. Still, many swear the noises they hear are not natural echoes. Footsteps often seem to approach from behind, measured and steady, only to vanish when the listener turns. Doors that were firmly closed have been heard creaking open, though upon inspection, they remain shut. At times, faint tapping noises resonate from the walls, as if someone is signaling from inside the structure itself. Cleaning staff, accustomed to the building's nightly silence, have spoken of disembodied whispers, muffled voices that drift through hallways when no one else is there. Though the words are never clear, the tone is unmistakable, urgent, almost pleading, like a conversation cut short. Perhaps the most disturbing reports come from those who have encountered the sensation of being watched. The Seagram building's open, minimalist design creates wide corridors and uncluttered spaces, leaving little room for shadows to hide. Yet many employees describe an overwhelming feeling of eyes upon them, an invisible gaze that follows them from office to elevator to lobby. Some say this sensation grows stronger after dark, when the building is quiet and the city outside hums with its distant noise. One night guard described patrolling the upper floors when he felt an undeniable weight pressing on him, as though he were under scrutiny. Looking into the reflective glass walls, he thought he saw a dark figure standing at the far end of the corridor. When he advanced, the shape dissolved into the gleam of the bronze-tinted surface, leaving only his own reflection. Speculation about the cause of these experiences varies. Some point to the building's history and its ties to the corporate world. Decades of high-stakes decisions, financial collapses, and personal dramas unfolded within its walls. The pressures of ambition and failure may have left behind an imprint, energies replaying themselves long after the people involved have gone. Others tie the activity to the very act of its construction. The late 1950s were an era of rapid development in Midtown Manhattan, with entire blocks transformed almost overnight. Old tenements and smaller buildings were demolished to make way for modern skyscrapers, erasing entire communities. Paranormal historians argue that such upheaval often stirs lingering energies, creating disturbances that attach themselves to the new structures that rise above the old foundations. Even the building's minimalist design has been suggested as a factor in its haunted reputation. The clean lines, the reflective glass, and the sheer lack of ornamentation create an austere atmosphere. For some, this starkness feels unsettling, as though the building's emptiness magnifies the presence of whatever else may linger there. The Seagram building, in its architectural perfection, offers no distractions, no clutter to explain away strange movements or noises. What remains feels raw, direct, and impossible to ignore. Employees have learned to live with the strangeness. Many dismiss the chills and noises as quirks of an old building, even one so celebrated. Yet few are comfortable being alone in its vast spaces after dark. Some offices avoid scheduling late meetings for that very reason. Security guards often prefer to make their rounds in pairs, unwilling to walk the silent hallways alone. The stories are rarely shared outside the building for fear of ridicule. But among those who work there daily, the tales are a quiet thread that binds them together. Today, The Seagram Building continues to stand as an icon of modernism, admired by architects and tourists from around the world. Its shimmering bronze skin reflects the changing light of the city, while its plaza remains a popular gathering place. To most, it is a symbol of innovation and style. But to those who have felt the icy chill sweep over their desks or heard the footsteps pacing just out of sight, it is also something else entirely. A building alive with echoes, where the minimalist surfaces conceal layers of unseen history. And for those who know its secrets, the Seagram Building is proof that even the most perfect designs can harbor the imperfections of the past. The Bank of America Tower rises high above Bryant Park, its shimmering glass exterior a reflection of New York's ambition and innovation. Completed in 2009, it is one of the city's most environmentally advanced skyscrapers, boasting state-of-the-art technology and sustainable design that sets it apart from the concrete giants of Midtown Manhattan. To most passersby, the tower is a symbol of progress, an architectural marvel that stands as proof of what the future of urban development can be. But for those who work within its walls, the tower is not only a beacon of modernity. It is also a place where the past seems to echo, where whispers of unseen presences linger in the corners of its sleek, polished spaces. From the earliest days of its construction, workers on the site began to report strange occurrences. Some spoke of hearing footsteps across the unfinished floors late at night when the only people present should have been themselves. Tools went missing, only to reappear hours later in places no one claimed to have moved them. A few laborers admitted they felt uneasy on the upper levels, as if they were not alone, even though no one else could be seen. Many chalked it up to fatigue or the disorienting effects of working at such great heights. Still, the stories continued, whispered among the crews who swore that something about the site carried an energy they couldn't quite explain. When the tower officially opened and tenants began to fill the offices, the experiences did not stop. In fact, they seemed to intensify. Employees working late shifts described hearing the sound of footsteps echoing down empty hallways. The steps were measured, deliberate, almost as though someone were pacing. Yet whenever they investigated, they found themselves completely alone. One executive remembered leaving her office after midnight and hearing what she thought was another worker walking just ahead of her. She quickened her pace, only to realize that the sound of footsteps had quickened too, perfectly mirroring her own. When she stopped, the sound stopped. Gathering her courage, she turned the corner to confront whoever was there, only to be met with silence and an empty corridor stretching into darkness. Whispers are another phenomenon often reported by those inside the Bank of America Tower. These sounds are faint, almost indistinguishable, like fragments of conversations bleeding through the air. Some employees claim the whispers seem to call their names, luring them into rooms that turn out to be vacant. Others describe them as overlapping voices, as though dozens of people are speaking at once. None clearly audible, yet all unmistakably present. One night guard admitted to hearing whispers in the building's stairwell. He paused, listening intently, and realized the voices seemed to come from multiple floors at once. When he tried to follow the sound, it always seemed just one flight above him, retreating further and further until he finally gave up and left, his nerves frayed. Perhaps the most unsettling accounts involve fleeting glimpses of shadowy figures. These apparitions are never seen directly, always caught out of the corner of the eye. Workers describe a tall, dark shape standing at the edge of their vision, only to vanish when they turn their head. Sometimes, the figures appear in reflective surfaces, mirrors, windows, even the polished glass walls of the offices. In these reflections, a silhouette may seem to linger, motionless, watching. Yet when the viewer turns, the room is empty. One janitor recounted polishing a glass partition when he noticed a figure standing behind him in the reflection. He spun around quickly, but no one was there. When he turned back, the reflection showed only his own pale, frightened face. Speculation about the tower's hauntings varies. Some believe the site itself is steeped in lingering energies. Bryant Park, directly adjacent to the building, has a long history. In the 19th century, It served as a potter's field, a burial ground for the city's poor and unclaimed dead. Though the bodies were eventually relocated, many argue that not all were properly moved, and that the restless spirits remain. With the Bank of America Tower standing so close, it's not difficult to imagine that some of this energy seeped into the foundations of the gleaming skyscraper. Others tie the activity to the immense stress and intensity that fills the tower daily. Thousands of employees work inside, many under enormous pressure to perform in the fast-paced world of finance. Paranormal researchers suggest that such environments can leave behind psychic imprints, bursts of energy that manifest as whispers, footsteps, or apparitions. The very drive for ambition, success, and survival could be fueling the strange phenomena reported within the building's walls. Some skeptics argue that the experiences are simply a byproduct of the tower's architecture. Its glass walls and open design may create illusions of movement, reflections mistaken for figures, and sound distortions that mimic whispers or footsteps. Yet even the most logical explanations fail to account for the consistency of the reports. Over the years, dozens of employees, many with no knowledge of one another's stories, have described nearly identical encounters. Despite these strange happenings, life inside the Bank of America Tower continues. Workers file in and out daily, holding meetings, trading stocks, and building careers under the glow of its environmentally friendly lights. Most ignored the rumors, dismissing them as nothing more than office folklore. But there are always those who avoid working late, who take the elevators instead of the stairs, who refuse to glance too long into the reflective glass when they're alone. The tower, for all its innovation, remains a paradoxan emblem of the future that cannot escape the weight of the past. Its green design and cutting-edge technology may have earned it acclaim, but the stories of whispers, footsteps, and shadowy figures reveal another side of the skyscraper, one hidden beneath its glossy exterior. To those who have experienced the unexplainable, the Bank of America Tower is more than a workplace or a landmark. It is a reminder that even in the heart of progress, the echoes of history and the unseen world still find a way to linger. The MetLife Tower, standing proudly at 1 Madison Avenue in the heart of the financial district, is one of New York City's most iconic historic landmarks. Completed in 1909, it was the tallest building in the world at the time, a testament to early 20th century ambition and engineering prowess. Its clock tower, modeled after the Campanile in Venice, has long been a symbol of the city's skyline, visible for miles across Manhattan. But behind its stately exterior, a quieter, more unsettling story persists. Over the years, countless employees, visitors, and passers-by have reported strange occurrences that suggest the MetLife Tower may be more than just an architectural marvel. It could also be a place where the past lingers in unexplained ways. From the moment one steps into the building, there is a sense that it is alive with memories, some joyous, others tragic. Workers and security staff have consistently reported experiencing cold spots in hallways and offices, sudden drops in temperature that cannot be explained by drafts or air conditioning. One employee recounted sitting at her desk on the 20th floor during a summer afternoon when the air around her desk grew so icy she could see her breath. She looked around to find the room empty, yet the chill persisted, as though someone or something was standing just behind her. Moments later, the temperature returned to normal, leaving her shaken and questioning what she had felt. Elevators, too, seem to have a life of their own within the MetLife Tower. Doors are often reported opening and closing without any human intervention. Late at night, cleaning crews have described stepping onto an elevator only to find it already moving, stopping at floors where no passengers are waiting. Occasionally, the doors will open to reveal an empty cab with a faint, inexplicable draft, or a shadow passing quickly across the mirrored interior panels. Some employees have taken to avoiding the elevators after dark, preferring to use the stairwells, though these too have their own unsettling stories. Lighting within the tower has also been a source of unease. Lights flicker unexpectedly, not due to wiring faults or scheduled maintenance. and sometimes entire corridors are bathed in sudden darkness before returning to normal. These fluctuations are often accompanied by sounds that seem to defy explanation, whispers echoing along marble walls, the soft clatter of footsteps, or the creak of doors opening and closing in the distance. Security guards on late-night patrols report moments when the building feels almost sentient, as though it is aware of their presence and responding with subtle, deliberate motions. Shadowy figures are another frequent occurrence. Employees often describe seeing forms at the edge of their vision, dark silhouettes that vanish when looked at directly. These figures sometimes appear near stairwells or elevator banks, other times along the hallways. One janitor recalled polishing a wooden railing on an upper floor when he noticed a dark shape standing at the far end of the corridor. As he approached, it seemed to retreat, slipping behind a corner, only to vanish entirely when he reached the location. Such experiences leave a lingering sense of being watched, a sensation so pervasive that many who work late hours report a heightened awareness of every sound and movement around them. The building's rich history offers possible explanations for its haunted reputation. Constructed at the height of New York's early skyscraper boom, the MetLife Tower has witnessed more than a century of human activity, from high-powered financial decisions to personal triumphs and tragedies. During its construction and early years, workers endured grueling conditions, and some lost their lives in accidents on the site. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the spirits of these early laborers may remain drawn to the spaces where they spent so much of their energy and life. Beyond construction accidents, the MetLife Tower has been a silent witness to the tumultuous history of the financial district. Fires, financial collapses, and personal misfortunes have unfolded within its walls and nearby streets, leaving emotional residues that some believe persist to this day. The building's long corridors, marble floors, and reflective surfaces may act as amplifiers, capturing echoes of past events and replaying them in subtle, ghostly ways. For those sensitive to such energies, it can create an overwhelming impression that the building itself is alive, observing, and recalling memories long forgotten by the living. Witnesses often emphasize that the phenomena are not malevolent. The footsteps, shadows, and sudden chills are more like reminders than threats, as if the building is whispering stories from its past rather than seeking to harm. One longtime office worker remarked that after years of encountering these strange events, they had grown accustomed to the presence. The sense of unease persists, but it is accompanied by a strange fascination, a feeling that one is glimpsing history itself in motion, trapped in the bones of the building. Paranormal investigators have occasionally been drawn to the MetLife Tower, intrigued by decades of reports describing cold spots, moving shadows, and anomalous noises. Audio recordings sometimes capture faint, indecipherable whispers. Video footage occasionally reveals fleeting shadows where none should exist. While skeptics argue that these experiences are the result of fatigue, imagination, or structural quirks, the consistency of reports across different floors, eras, and personnel adds weight to the idea that something unexplained inhabits the building. Even today, the MetLife Tower continues to function as a bustling office space, with hundreds of workers passing through its doors every day. To the casual observer, it is simply a historic skyscraper, a testament to early 20th century ambition and elegance. Yet for those who have spent time alone within its walls, especially during quiet nights, it is more than that. It is a building alive with echoes, footsteps that never quite belong to anyone, shadows that linger at the edge of vision, and the faint, chilling sense that the past refuses to rest. In this way, the MetLife Tower stands as both a monument to human achievement and a repository of history's unseen traces. It is a place where the ordinary and the inexplicable coexists, where the living and the echoes of the past meet in the quiet spaces between floors, hallways, and offices. For those who enter its halls with open eyes, the building is a reminder that even in the heart of Manhattan, the past is never truly gone. It lingers, watching, whispering, and waiting to be noticed. The Woolworth Building, soaring above the financial district, is one of New York City's most iconic skyscrapers. completed in 1913 and designed by architect Cass Gilbert. It was the tallest building in the world at the time, a soaring Gothic masterpiece that captured the imagination of an entire city. Its terracotta facade, intricate detailing, and ornate lobby create an impression of grandeur that has endured for over a century. Yet behind the elegance and historic significance lies a less publicized story. The building has long been rumored to harbor supernatural activity. Workers, tenants, and visitors have recounted experiences that suggest the Woolworth Building is more than just a relic of architectural ambition. It may also be a vessel for restless spirits and echoes of the past. Reports of unexplained footsteps are among the most common phenomena associated with the building. Employees working in the upper floors, especially late at night, have described hearing the sound of shoes scraping against the marble and terrazzo floors when no one else is present. The footsteps are often deliberate and measured, echoing down long corridors before fading into silence. Security personnel have told stories of chasing the sound, only to discover empty hallways. In some cases, the noises have been heard simultaneously in multiple locations, defying explanation and leaving witnesses unnerved. One night, a janitor on the 28th floor recounted hearing a series of footsteps approaching his office. When he opened the door to investigate, the hallway was empty. Yet the sounds continued for several seconds before fading, as if whoever or whatever was walking had vanished into thin air. Shadowy figures are another recurring experience in the Woolworth Building. Visitors and employees alike have reported fleeting silhouettes at the edge of their vision shapes that vanish the moment they are observed directly. Some describe a dark form moving quickly down the stairwells, while others have seen figures pause at the end of corridors before slipping behind walls. These sightings are particularly common in the upper floors, where the offices are less frequently occupied and the Gothic architecture creates long shadows and alcoves. One tenant described walking through a nearly empty hallway when he noticed a figure standing near a window. He blinked, and the figure had disappeared. Such occurrences leave a lingering sensation of being watched, a feeling that persists even in the bustling daylight hours when the building is full of people. The building's history provides possible clues for its haunting reputation. The Woolworth Building was erected during a period of rapid industrialization and skyscraper construction, a time when workers faced grueling conditions and dangerous work environments. Accidents during construction, including falls from great heights, were not uncommon, and some believed that the spirits of these early laborers never fully left the structure. Their energy, bound to the building by the trauma of their deaths and the sheer physical effort invested in its creation, may continue to manifest as the unexplained sounds and shadows reported today. Beyond construction, the building has also witnessed a century of financial triumphs and failures. Offices once housed influential figures in banking, commerce, and real estate. Decisions made within its walls affected countless lives, sometimes resulting in ruin or despair. Many employees have reported sudden drops in temperature in otherwise climate-controlled offices, often accompanied by the sensation of an unseen presence. One executive recalled a meeting room where the air suddenly became icy, her colleagues shivering despite the heat of the summer outside. She felt the pressure at her back, as if someone was standing behind her. Yet, when she turned, the room was empty. The Gothic design of the Woolworth Building may contribute to its eerie atmosphere. High ceilings, narrow hallways, and intricate arches create acoustics that carry sound in unusual ways, making footsteps and voices resonate in ways that can feel unnatural. Yet witnesses insist that the phenomena cannot be fully explained by architecture alone. The precision of the noises, the timing of the shadows, and the persistent feeling of being observed suggest something more intentional than simple acoustics or tricks of perspective. Security guards, in particular, have shared chilling stories. One longtime guard recounted patrolling the upper floors after midnight when he felt an inexplicable weight pressing down on him. The lights flickered, and he thought he saw a dark figure gliding past the end of the hallway. Though he pursued it, the figure seemed to disappear into the walls. He admitted that despite years of experience and familiarity with the building, He had never felt such a profound sense of unease anywhere else in New York. For visitors, the Woolworth Building can evoke a sense of awe and apprehension simultaneously. Its history, architecture, and prestige are undeniable. But those who linger long enough in its quieter spaces may sense that the building is more than a collection of offices and decorative stone. There is a presence, subtle yet persistent, that seems tied to the human energy accumulated over a century of labor, ambition, and life-changing events. Some interpret this presence as the spirits of those who built the tower, others as echoes of past occupants whose lives and emotions remain imprinted on the walls. Despite the stories, the Woolworth Building continues to thrive as a functional office space and a tourist destination. Its lobby remains one of the city's most celebrated interiors, drawing visitors eager to experience its intricate mosaics, bronze doors, and soaring ceilings. Yet for those who pay attention to the whispers, the echoes, and the fleeting shadows, the building offers more than architectural beauty, offers a glimpse into the lingering presence of history itself. In the end, the Woolworth Building stands as a testament not only to early 20th century ambition and engineering, but also to the mysteries that accumulate within the walls of a city as old as skyscrapers. For those who have walked its halls after dark, the echoes of the past are never far away, and the building itself seems to watch, silently carrying the stories of all who have passed through it, both living and departed. The MetLife Building, formerly known as the Pan Am Building, is a colossal presence in Midtown Manhattan, standing as a testament to the city's mid-20th century ambition. Completed in 1963, it was one of the largest office buildings in the world at the time. Its massive structure dominating the skyline and serving as a hub for business and transportation. Its sheer scale and modernist design have long made it a symbol of corporate power. Yet behind its imposing facade, stories have circulated for decades of strange and unexplained phenomena. Employees, visitors, and late-night workers have all shared experiences suggesting that the MetLife Building may be more than just an architectural landmark, may also be home to lingering energies that refuse to rest. Among the most commonly reported occurrences are sudden drops in temperature, often accompanied by an unsettling feeling of being watched. Employees working late into the night frequently describe experiencing cold spots in isolated areas, hallways, and offices. One security guard recalled patrolling the upper floors during a quiet evening when the temperature around him plummeted sharply. Despite the building's climate controls, he felt an oppressive presence, as though someone or something was standing just behind him. When he turned, the hallway was empty, yet the sensation lingered, pressing against him like a weight that refused to dissipate. Elevators in the MetLife Building have also been a source of unnerving reports. Workers have described elevator doors opening and closing, seemingly on their own, sometimes stopping at floors with no passengers waiting. Late-night cleaning crews recount entering an elevator that had begun to move without their touch, stopping at floors that appeared empty, only for the doors to open and reveal a stark, unoccupied interior. In some cases, staff report hearing the faint sound of footsteps inside the elevator, echoing off the metal panels, though no one is present. These unexplained movements, combined with the sensation of being followed, have led many to avoid riding alone during after hours. Lights flickering without reason are another phenomenon that contributes to the building's eerie reputation. Office floors, hallways, and stairwells occasionally experience sudden darkness followed by an abrupt return of illumination. Witnesses often describe these changes occurring in sequences, almost rhythmically, as if the building itself were trying to communicate. Sometimes the flickers are accompanied by low hums or faint murmurs, subtle enough to be missed by some but unmistakable to those attuned to the building's quieter sounds. Employees have described feeling their attention drawn to these moments, as though something unseen is observing their reactions. Shadowy figures are among the most chilling accounts. Workers have reported glimpsing forms at the edge of their vision, dark silhouettes, standing in hallways, lingering near stairwells, or moving along corridors. When observers turn to confront these figures directly, they vanish, leaving no trace. One tenant described walking down a dimly lit hallway on the 33rd floor, When he noticed a tall shadow stretching across the far end, he approached quickly, only for the figure to disappear behind the corner, leaving him with the unnerving feeling that he had been watched the entire time. The building's history may offer insight into these experiences. Constructed during a time of rapid growth and urban development, the MetLife building replaced older structures and reshaped the Midtown skyline. Construction accidents, worker stress, and the sheer scale of the project may have left emotional imprints within the building. Paranormal researchers suggest that intense emotional energy, particularly associated with trauma or high-pressure environments, can linger in spaces for decades, sometimes manifesting as physical sensations, sounds, or fleeting apparitions. Given the MetLife building's role as a center of commerce and its constant flow of workers, it is conceivable that such energy could have accumulated and persisted over time. Some believe that the building's design amplifies these phenomena. Its massive open floors, long corridors, and reflective surfaces create acoustics that can distort sound, causing echoes to carry in unusual ways. Shadows can stretch unnaturally along walls or across office spaces, giving the illusion of movement. Yet even skeptics concede that the consistency of reported experiences, cold spots, footsteps, flickering lights, and apparitions suggests that something beyond simple optical or acoustic illusions may be at play. Employees who spend late nights in the building often describe a heightened awareness, a sense of being constantly observed even in ostensibly empty spaces. Many develop routines to avoid areas where the phenomena are most reported, taking different stairwells, avoiding certain floors, or working in pairs when after-hours access is required. Security personnel admit that the building feels different at night, quieter, yet somehow heavier, as if the very structure is conscious of their presence. These feelings, while difficult to quantify, are repeated across decades of anecdotal evidence. Visitors have occasionally reported similar experiences. People passing through the lobby at unusual hours have spoken of a subtle unease, a sense that someone or something is lingering nearby. Even in daytime, the building's cavernous spaces, long hallways, and echoes of footfalls can create a disorienting atmosphere that leaves a lingering impression of watchfulness. The combination of architectural scale, historical significance, and human activity over decades may create a setting uniquely conducive to these paranormal perceptions. Despite the reports, the MetLife building continues to thrive as one of Midtown Manhattan's busiest office towers. Its modern systems, sustainable design updates, and daily bustle of commerce provide a counterpoint to the occasional strange experiences reported by employees. Yet those who have spent time alone in its hallways, particularly at night, often tell a different story, a tale of echoes, shadows, flickering lights, and cold spots that seem to hint at a presence unseen but undeniably felt. In the end, the MetLife building is more than just a physical structure. It is a repository of history, energy, and memory. To some, it is a monument to progress and ambition. To others, it is a place where the past refuses to rest, where the unseen still roams its corridors and whispers through its elevators. For those who have felt the unexplained, it is a reminder that even the most familiar spaces can hold secrets, and that in the heart of Manhattan, the line between the living and the lingering is sometimes indistinguishable. The Chrysler Building, an Art Deco icon rising high in Midtown Manhattan, is renowned for its gleaming spire, intricate ornamentation, and status as one of New York City's most beloved architectural landmarks. Completed in 1930, it was briefly the tallest building in the world, a symbol of ambition, innovation, and the roaring energy of the Jazz Age. Its gleaming stainless steel crown, eagle gargoyles, and triangular windows make it instantly recognizable, a shimmering jewel in the city's skyline. Yet beneath its dazzling exterior, whispers of the supernatural have long circulated. Employees, visitors, and late-night security staff have reported eerie experiences, suggesting that the Chrysler Building may harbor more than just tenants and history. It may also house echoes of the past, lingering energies, or spirits unwilling to depart. Among the most commonly reported phenomena are unexplained noises, Workers who remain late in their offices have recounted hearing footsteps echoing through empty hallways, soft yet deliberate, as if someone were pacing the corridors. Security guards on night shifts describe similar experiences. The sound of steps following them, even when they know the floors are vacant. Elevator banks occasionally emit strange noises as well, doors opening and closing on their own. Faint metallic clanks or the soft thump of footsteps within the car when no one is inside. In some cases, these occurrences are accompanied by fleeting whispers, indistinct murmurs that seem to drift through the halls, just on the edge of perception. Employees report a strange dissonance in these sounds, a rhythm that seems intentional, almost as if the building itself is echoing messages from a forgotten time. Shadows are another recurring feature in the Chrysler Building's collection of unexplained activity. Workers often describe seeing fleeting figures at the periphery of their vision. These silhouettes appear in hallways, near stairwells, or in the reflections of polished office surfaces. They vanish the instant they are looked at directly, leaving a lingering sensation that someone or something is present, even when the space seems entirely empty. One late-night office worker recounted approaching the spire-level observation deck to retrieve a forgotten file and noticing a dark form standing at the far end of the hallway. As she drew closer, it dissolved into the shadows, leaving only the faint echo of a footstep behind her. Experiences like these have been repeated by multiple employees, each recounting encounters with the same mysterious sense of being observed. Cold spots, sudden drops in temperature that defy explanation, are also frequently reported. Office spaces that should be uniformly climate-controlled sometimes become inexplicably icy, sending chills down the spine of anyone nearby. These chills are often localized, felt only in one corner of a room or along a hallway. Yet they are intense enough to raise goosebumps or make the hair on the back of the neck stand on end. One building maintenance worker noted that these cold areas often correspond to older parts of the building or spaces adjacent to long-abandoned offices. Paranormal researchers suggest that such areas might act as focal points for residual energy, emotional, or spiritual imprints left by previous occupants, whose presence lingers long after their time has passed. The history of the Chrysler Building provides fertile ground for these experiences. Constructed during the height of New York's skyscraper boom, it was the product of intense labor, ambition, and competition. Workers endured long hours, dangerous conditions, and high pressure to complete the building before rivals could claim the title of tallest in the world. Some tragically lost their lives during construction, victims of falls or accidents on the skeletal frame. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the energy and trauma of these events may remain tied to the building, manifesting as strange noises, sudden chills, or the shadowy forms seen by later occupants. Over the decades, the building has witnessed the comings and goings of countless tenants, each leaving behind traces of their presence. Offices that once buzzed with the excitement of commerce and creativity are now quiet. Yet the memory of human activity may persist in ways that defy logic. Whispers, footsteps, and cold drafts might be remnants of these imprints, echoes of lives lived, ambitions pursued, and perhaps anxieties or grief carried within the building's walls. Some employees report a distinct emotional weight on certain floors, a sensation that is difficult to describe but unmistakable. The feeling that they are walking through a space that has absorbed more than just architecture and furniture, but human experience itself. Security personnel are often the most consistent witnesses to these phenomena. Late-night patrols through the Chrysler Building frequently involve encounters with unexplained sounds or fleeting shadows. One veteran guard described walking a long corridor, only to hear the echo of footsteps directly behind him, perfectly synchronized with his own pace. When he spun around, the hallway was empty, yet the echo persisted for several more steps. Another guard recounted that lights in seldom-used offices sometimes flicker rhythmically, casting long shadows that seemed to move with purpose. Though he could find no logical explanation, the feeling of being observed remained palpable and unnerving. Visitors have also reported subtle, disquieting sensations. Those who linger on upper floors or observation decks after hours often speak of an almost imperceptible unease, a sense that the building is more than a physical space. Some describe fleeting shadows at the edges of their vision, a gentle whisper carried on the wind through the spire's narrow windows, or the sensation of invisible eyes tracking their movements. These experiences, though subjective, are remarkably consistent across decades and across different individuals, suggesting that there is something about the Chrysler Building itself that fosters these encounters. Despite its reputation for strange activity, the Chrysler Building continues to function as one of New York's premier office spaces and a celebrated architectural landmark. Tourists flock to its observation decks, and businesses thrive within its walls. Yet for those who have spent time alone in its corridors after dark, the building tells a different story, a story of echoes, shadows, chills, and whispered presences, all intertwined with its soaring Gothic design and storied history. In the end, the Chrysler Building stands as a monument not only to human achievement and Art Deco elegance, but also to the mysteries that accumulate over time. It is a place where the past refuses to remain silent, where the echoes of construction, ambition, and human experience continue to linger. For those who sense it, the building is not just steel and stone, it is a living testament to the unseen. A reminder that even the most celebrated landmarks can hold secrets hidden in plain sight. The Flatiron Building, rising sharply at the intersection of Fifth Avenue and Broadway, is one of New York City's most iconic and recognizable landmarks. Its distinctive triangular shape, a narrow wedge tapering to a point at 23rd Street, has made it an architectural marvel since its completion in 1902. Designed by Daniel Burnham, the building was among the city's earliest skyscrapers and quickly became a symbol of modern engineering and design. Yet beneath its celebrated facades and historic significance lies a history shadowed by tragedy and whispered stories of haunting. For more than a century, locals, visitors, and workers have shared accounts that suggest the Flatiron Building may be more than just a remarkable piece of architecture. It may also be home to lingering spirits. The most commonly cited apparition is tied directly to the building's construction. In the early 1900s, as the structure rose floor by floor, a tragic accident claimed the life of a construction worker. Reports indicate that he fell from one of the upper levels, plunging to the street below. Though the construction continued and the building was completed, the worker's untimely death left an indelible mark on the site. Since then, many have claimed to see a ghostly figure lingering near the building, often in the early morning hours or late at night, when the streets are quieter. Witnesses describe a figure dressed in period work attire, its features obscured by shadow, seemingly observing the world from the point where the building tapers to its narrowest angle. Pedestrians have occasionally reported seeing this figure step into the street as if inspecting the construction site, only to vanish when approached. One late-night delivery driver recounted pausing at the base of the building when he noticed a man standing near the corner, motionless and eerily still. As he slowed to investigate, the figure appeared to dissolve into the mist rising from the city streets, leaving him with an unsettling sense that the building itself was alive with memory. These sightings are not limited to the building's exterior. Employees working in the offices above have described fleeting glimpses of shadows moving along empty hallways, often coinciding with the late hours when few people remain in the building. Footsteps and unexplained noises are also commonly reported. Office workers and security personnel alike have described hearing the distinct sound of boots or shoes on the wooden floors and narrow staircases, particularly in areas seldom traversed after hours. Sometimes the footsteps echo through corridors, disappearing abruptly as if the source has vanished into thin air. A janitor once reported hearing the repetitive rhythm of footsteps climbing the narrow stairwell, step for step with his own. Yet when he paused, the sound paused as well. When he finally looked up, the stairwell was empty, leaving him shaken and questioning whether the building itself was replaying the echo of that fateful day long ago. The building's unique architecture may contribute to the sense of unease. Its triangular design creates narrow hallways and acute angles that distort sound and shadow, amplifying even the slightest movement. Reflections in glass panels, Mirrors and polished surfaces sometimes appear to reveal figures in peripheral vision, only for them to vanish when looked at directly. Employees report these experiences as subtle but persistent glimpses of movement, faint whispers that seem carried along the walls, and the sensation of being watched when the offices are otherwise empty. Those skeptics attribute these phenomena to optical illusions or the building's acoustics. The consistency of reports over decades makes dismissal difficult. Cold spots are another common element of the Flatiron Building's reported haunting. Even in the midst of controlled office temperatures, workers have described sudden drops in heat that produce shivers and raise goosebumps. These chills often coincide with areas associated with the building's historical corners or less traveled sections, leading some to speculate that the energy of the past, especially that of the worker who perished, remains attached to the structure. One office manager recalled feeling a sharp chill while walking past a narrow hallway on the 12th floor. She turned to see nothing but the dimly lit corridor. Yet the sensation of a presence remained, pressing subtly at her back as if urging her onward. The history of the building amplifies its haunted reputation. Beyond the construction accident, the Flatiron Building has witnessed more than a century of New York life. Bustling offices, dramatic business deals, and the unending flow of the city around it. Each passing decade added layers of human activity, stress, and emotion that some paranormal researchers suggest may linger as residual energy. Such energy is said to manifest in unexplained sounds, fleeting shadows, or the subtle but persistent feeling that one is not entirely alone. Security personnel and nighttime cleaners are often the most consistent witnesses. They recount stories of seeing shapes in hallways, hearing footsteps where no one should be, and experiencing a sense of being followed, even in the sparsely occupied upper floors. Some have even described objects shifting slightly, as if nudged by an invisible hand. Though these events are rarely documented officially, their repeated retellings form a rich oral history of the building's unexplained phenomena. For visitors, the Flatiron Building's reputation adds a layer of mystique to its architectural splendor. Tourists snapping photos of its pointed facade or admiring its decorative detailing are sometimes unaware of the shadows that may flit through the corridors behind them. Longtime office workers, by contrast, often speak in hushed tones about the ghostly figure at the building's tip and the echoing footsteps that remind them that the past is never truly gone. Today, the Flatiron Building continues to function as a bustling office space, a historic landmark, and a symbol of early skyscraper ingenuity. Yet, for those who linger late at night or observe carefully from its narrow corners, it is more than a physical structure. It is a place where memory, tragedy, and history intertwine, leaving traces of the past that still whisper, move, and watch. The ghost of the construction worker, whether real or imagined, has become a silent guardian of the building, a reminder that even in the city that never sleeps, some stories never end. The Woolworth Building, standing tall in the heart of New York City's financial district, is a Gothic marvel that has captured the imagination of architects and tourists alike for over a century. Completed in 1913, it was the tallest building in the world at the time, a testament to the ambition and ingenuity of early 20th century America. Its ornate terracotta facade, pointed arches, and intricate Gothic details create an imposing presence that draws the eye upward, inspiring awe in those who pass beneath its shadow. Yet behind its architectural splendor lies a quieter, more unsettling story. For decades, visitors, tenants, and workers have reported unexplained occurrences that suggest the Woolworth Building is not only a monument to human achievement, but also a repository of lingering spirits and residual energy. The most frequently reported phenomenon is the sound of footsteps echoing through the upper floors. Employees working late at night often describe hearing the steady rhythm of shoes against the marble and wooden floors, moving deliberately along corridors where no one is present. Security guards recount similar experiences during after-hours patrols. One guard on the 28th floor described walking down a dimly lit hallway when he suddenly heard a series of footsteps behind him. He stopped and listened, but the sound continued, synchronized with his own steps, until he finally spun around to find the corridor empty. Such experiences are not isolated. They have been reported by multiple workers across different decades, suggesting a pattern that transcends individual imagination or fatigue. Shadowy figures are another recurring aspect of the building's haunted reputation. Visitors and tenants have described fleeting silhouettes at the periphery of their vision, particularly near stairwells, elevator banks, or along narrow hallways. These figures often vanish when looked at directly, leaving witnesses with the unnerving sensation of being observed. One janitor recounted cleaning an office late one night when he noticed a dark figure standing at the far end of the hallway. He approached cautiously, but the figure seemed to dissolve into the shadows, leaving only the echo of a footstep and the lingering chill of its presence. These sightings, coupled with the pervasive sounds of phantom footsteps, have created a consistent narrative of unexplained activity throughout the building. Cold spots are another frequently reported phenomenon. Even in areas where climate control maintains a comfortable temperature, workers have felt sudden drops in heat that cause shivers and goosebumps. These cold zones often correspond to older sections of the building, particularly the upper floors or corners that are less frequently visited. Employees describe the sensation as a pressing presence, almost tangible, as if the spirit of a past occupant or construction worker remains attached to the structure. One executive remembered feeling an icy chill while passing through a stairwell on the 24th floor, accompanied by a subtle feeling of eyes watching her from the darkness. Though she found the floor empty, the sensation lingered for hours, a reminder that the building retains memories of those who once moved within it. The history of the Woolworth Building provides context for these phenomena. Constructed at the height of New York's skyscraper boom, it required the labor of hundreds of workers under demanding and sometimes dangerous conditions. Accidents were not uncommon, and several workers lost their lives during construction. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the energy and trauma of these events may have become imprinted within the building, manifesting as footsteps, shadows, and cold spots. Additionally, the building has housed countless offices and businesses over the decades, each adding layers of human activity, emotion, and stress that may contribute to the residual energy reported by witnesses. Architectural features may also amplify the building's eerie atmosphere. The tall ceilings, narrow corridors, and reflective surfaces can distort sound and light, creating optical and auditory illusions that make shadows appear to move and noises seem closer than they are. Yet witnesses insist that the phenomena cannot be entirely explained by architectural quirks alone. The consistency of reports over decades and the detailed nature of the experiences suggest that there is something more at play than mere perception or imagination. Security staff, who spend long hours alone in the building, are often the most consistent witnesses. They recount stories of shadows slipping around corners, objects subtly shifting, and footsteps echoing through empty halls. One veteran guard described a late-night patrol where he felt an inexplicable pressure at his back, accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature and the soft, deliberate sound of footsteps behind him. When he turned, there was nothing. Yet the sensation of being observed persisted as he continued his rounds. These experiences leave a lasting impression, creating an awareness of the building as more than just a structure of steel and stone. Visitors to the Woolworth Building have also shared experiences of unease. Those who linger in quiet corridors, stairwells, or less frequented offices sometimes report the feeling of an unseen presence nearby. Shadows flit across peripheral vision, faint whispers echo off the walls, and a subtle chill can descend unexpectedly. Even during the bustling daytime hours, these moments can evoke a sense of history pressing in. A reminder that the building carries more than architectural significance. It carries the traces of all who have passed through its halls. Despite its reputation for unexplained activity, the Woolworth Building remains a thriving office space and a celebrated historic landmark. Tourists admire its Gothic detailing, while businesses continue to operate within its halls. Yet for those who spend time in the upper floors after dark, or who move quietly through its shadowed corridors, the building tells a different story. It is a space where the past lingers, where echoes of human activity both triumphant and tragic, remain present. In the end, the Woolworth Building stands as both an architectural triumph and a monument to the unseen. It is a structure where history is tangible, where echoes of labor, ambition, and life itself continue to resonate. For those who have walked its halls after dark, the building is never truly empty. The footsteps, shadows, and cold spots serve as reminders that even in the heart of the financial district, the past refuses to remain silent, and the spirits of those who came before may still linger within its Gothic walls. The MetLife Building, formerly known as the Pan Am Building, is a colossal landmark dominating the Midtown Manhattan skyline. Completed in 1963, it was at the time one of the largest office buildings in the world, a symbol of modern engineering and corporate ambition. Its massive structure, perched above bustling streets, serves as a hub for thousands of workers and visitors daily. Yet, behind its sleek, modernist facade lies a lesser-known story, a history of unexplained phenomena that has captivated the imagination of employees, security staff, and visitors alike. For decades, people have reported experiences that suggest the MetLife Building may not be merely steel, glass, and concrete, but a space where unseen presences linger. Among the most frequent accounts are strange occurrences with the elevators. Workers and night shift personnel have reported elevator doors opening and closing without any call or movement inside. On multiple occasions, employees have entered a seemingly idle elevator, only to find it moving between floors on its own. Some report hearing faint, rhythmic footsteps within the elevator, though no other person is present. A late-night cleaning crew once described stepping into an elevator on the 32nd floor and watching as the car slowly descended, stopping at floors with empty hallways. When the doors opened, the hallways were vacant, and the eerie silence felt heavier than the empty space warranted. Such incidents leave a lingering sense that the building's elevators are more than mechanical devices. They are conduits for something unseen. Another commonly reported phenomenon is the flickering of lights in otherwise functional office areas. Staff members have described sudden flashes or dimming of lights without explanation, sometimes accompanied by low hums or subtle vibrations in the walls. These flickers often occur in patterns that feel intentional, almost like a message encoded in electricity. Some employees have experienced multiple flickers while working alone, noting that the shadows cast by these changes in light can appear to move independently of any object. Security personnel working the night shifts frequently encounter these disturbances in hallways and stairwells, noting that the flickering seems concentrated in areas where foot traffic is minimal. Cold spots are another hallmark of the building's unexplained activity. Even on hot summer days, employees have reported localized drops in temperature, creating sudden chills that raise goosebumps. These cold areas are often felt in isolated corners, stairwells, or near rarely used office spaces, as if someone or something is intentionally present in those spots. One long-term employee recalled walking past the 28th floor stairwell when an icy draft enveloped him completely. Though the building's heating and ventilation systems were operating normally, the chill felt unnaturally sharp, accompanied by an overwhelming sense of being watched. The sensation persisted even after he left the area, leaving a lasting impression of unease. Shadowy figures are another component of the building's eerie reputation. Employees have recounted glimpses of silhouettes at the periphery of vision, fleeting shapes that vanish when looked at directly. Some have described the vague outline of a figure standing near stairwells or in the distance of long corridors, only to disappear when approached. One security guard reported watching a dark shape glide past the upper floors late one night, moving with deliberate speed before dissolving into the shadows. These experiences often leave witnesses with the uncanny feeling that they are being observed, even when the building is otherwise empty. The history of the MetLife Building may help explain some of these phenomena. Constructed during a period of rapid urban expansion, it replaced older structures and reshaped the Midtown skyline. Countless workers contributed to its construction, many under difficult and stressful conditions. While no major accidents are documented, the sheer volume of human effort tension, and ambition invested into the building may have left an emotional imprint, according to paranormal researchers. The building has also housed countless offices, with people working long hours under high stress, often dealing with intense business pressures and personal anxieties. The combination of human emotion, effort, and historical significance could contribute to the unusual sensations reported by those within its walls. Employees who spend late hours in the building often describe heightened awareness. Some report that the hallways feel heavier at night, that echoes sound unusually close, or that shadows appear more pronounced. Security staffs admit that walking the same corridors during after-hours patrols can produce a sense of unease, a feeling that the building is watching, listening, and responding to movement. Janitors, cleaning offices alone at night, sometimes speak of footsteps that mirror their own, low whispers carried on the ventilation system, or objects subtly shifted, seemingly by invisible hands. These reports, while anecdotal, are remarkably consistent across decades. Visitors occasionally experience a similar sense of unease. Those who linger on the lower concourses or the upper offices after hours describe fleeting shadows, sudden temperature changes, and the sense that someone is nearby despite the absence of people. Even during the day, the building's enormous open spaces and reflective surfaces can create disorienting perspectives, amplifying the subtle movements, sounds, and chills that contribute to its mysterious reputation. Despite these stories, the MetLife building remains a thriving corporate hub and an architectural landmark. Its offices, concourses, and elevators bustle with daily activity, while its skyline prominence continues to impress locals and tourists alike. Yet for those who work alone at night or navigate its quieter corridors, the building tells a different story. It is a place where the echoes of the past and the accumulated energy of countless human experiences linger, manifesting as cold spots, flickering lights, footsteps, and fleeting shadows. The MetLife building is more than just a structure. It is a space where history, human ambition, and unexplained energy converge. For those who have spent time in its corridors after dark, it is impossible to ignore the presence of something unseen. A reminder that even in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, some mysteries remain. The echoes, shadows, and chills serve as subtle proof that the building carries stories beyond those written in architectural plans or corporate records, making it a living testament to the unseen, the forgotten, and the unexplained. The Chrysler Building, one of New York City's most iconic landmarks, rises gracefully above Midtown Manhattan, a shining example of Art Deco elegance and architectural ambition. Completed in 1930, it was briefly the tallest building in the world, a crown jewel of the city's skyline with its gleaming spire, stainless steel crown, and eagle-shaped gargoyles. Its ornate details and unique design make it instantly recognizable, a symbol of innovation and grandeur. Yet beyond its celebrated exterior lies a lesser-known side of the building, a history of unexplained phenomena that has intrigued and unsettled those who work or linger within its walls. For decades, employees, security personnel, and visitors have shared experiences suggesting that the Chrysler Building may harbor spirits or residual energies from the past, leaving traces of the unseen in its corridors and offices. Among the most frequently reported occurrences are strange noises, particularly the sound of footsteps. Employees working late into the night have described hearing the distinct rhythm of someone walking along the hallways, often on floors that appear empty. Security guards patrolling the building after hours report the same phenomenon, footsteps echoing in stairwells, corridors, and elevator lobbies, sometimes synchronized with their own movements. One longtime security officer recounted walking down a dimly lit corridor on the 40th floor when he suddenly heard another set of steps matching his pace. He stopped abruptly, and the echo continued for several more steps before fading into silence. When he turned to investigate, the hallway was completely empty, leaving him with an unsettling sense that he had been observed by an invisible presence. Whispers are another common aspect of the Chrysler Building's unexplained activity. Employees have reported faint murmurs drifting through office floors, sometimes following them as they move through corridors or stairwells. These whispers are rarely intelligible, but their presence is unmistakably soft, persistent sound that seems to come from nowhere. Many describe the whispers as almost playful, a subtle yet disconcerting reminder that the building is more than a collection of steel and stone. In some cases, the voices appear to respond to the observer's thoughts or movements, creating a sensation that the building is aware of those within it. Shadowy figures are perhaps the most unnerving manifestations reported. Office workers, janitors, and security staff alike have described fleeting silhouettes in their peripheral vision, particularly near stairwells, elevators, or corners of long corridors. These shapes vanish when directly confronted, leaving witnesses with the eerie feeling of being watched. One night, a maintenance worker recalled walking toward the upper floors when he noticed a dark form at the end of the hallway. He approached cautiously, but the figure seemed to dissolve into the shadows, leaving only the echo of a footstep behind him. Such sightings have been reported repeatedly over the years, often in similar locations, suggesting that certain areas of the building may act as focal points for these mysterious apparitions. Cold spots are also frequently mentioned by those working late in the Chrysler Building. Even with the climate control systems functioning, employees have felt sudden drops in temperature, sharp chills that raise goosebumps and leave a lasting sense of unease. These cold areas often correspond to less traveled hallways, corners, or stairwells. One office worker described feeling a frigid draft while walking past the 42nd floor stairwell, accompanied by a distinct impression that something unseen was watching her. The sensation persisted even after she left the area, reinforcing the idea that these phenomena are not merely coincidental or imagined. The building's history provides context for these haunting accounts. Constructed during a time of intense competition in New York's skyscraper boom, the Chrysler Building was built quickly, with hundreds of laborers working under grueling conditions to ensure it would surpass rival structures. Accidents and injuries were common on construction sites during this era, and some workers tragically lost their lives. Paranormal researchers suggest that the emotional intensity, trauma, and human energy involved in erecting such a monumental structure may have left residual imprints, which manifest today as sounds, shadows, or cold drafts. Over the decades, the building has also hosted countless tenants, office workers, and visitors, each contributing additional layers of human activity, emotion, and stress that may be stored, in some form, within its walls. Late-night personnel often speak of heightened awareness within the Chrysler Building. Security guards, janitors, and cleaning crews report that hallways feel heavier at night. Shadows seem more pronounced, and subtle noises are amplified. Many have developed strategies to cope, avoiding certain floors after hours, walking in pairs, or relying on the presence of other employees to feel safe. Despite these precautions, the sensation of being watched remains pervasive, suggesting a lingering presence that transcends time and occupancy. Visitors have occasionally shared experiences of unease as well. Tourists on observation decks, or those passing through the lobby at quiet hours, have described fleeting shadows, sudden chills, and the inexplicable sensation of eyes tracking them. Even during busy daytime hours, the building's tall ceilings, narrow corridors, and reflective surfaces create an environment where the senses can be subtly distorted, amplifying small sounds or fleeting movements and giving rise to the feeling that the Chrysler Building is not entirely empty. Despite its supernatural reputation, the Chrysler Building continues to function as a major office space and remains a celebrated architectural landmark. Its spire gleams above the Midtown skyline, and tourists flock to admire its Art Deco details and historic significance. Yet for those who work late or linger in the quieter corners, the building tells a different story. It is a space where echoes of the past remain, where the footsteps of unseen entities, the whispers in the hallways, and the fleeting shadows persist as reminders that the building is more than steel and glass. It is a living monument to the energies, ambitions, and perhaps spirits of its history. In the end, the Chrysler Building stands as both a testament to human achievement and a keeper of secrets. For those attuned to its subtle cues, it is a place where the past never truly rests, where the presence of the unseen is felt, and where the echoes of time, effort, and perhaps something beyond human understanding continue to linger in the heart of Manhattan. The Flatiron Building, standing at the intersection of Fifth Avenue and Broadway, is one of New York City's most instantly recognizable landmarks. Its unique triangular design, tapering sharply to a narrow point at 23rd Street, has captured the imagination of architects, tourists, and locals alike since its completion in 1902. Designed by Daniel Burnham, it was one of the city's earliest skyscrapers, a marvel of engineering and ingenuity. Its Beaux-Arts facades, cast-iron detailing, and striking verticality made it an icon of the early 20th century. Yet behind its celebrated architecture lies a darker, lesser-known history, one marked by tragedy, whispers of restless spirits, and unexplained phenomena that have persisted for over a century. The most enduring story of the Flatiron Building's haunted reputation revolves around its construction. In the early 1900s, during the final stages of erecting this pioneering skyscraper, a construction worker tragically fell to his death from one of the upper floors. Details about the accident are scarce, but it was a reminder of the perilous conditions faced by workers of that era. Since then, numerous accounts have emerged describing a ghostly figure seen near the building, believed to be the spirit of the worker whose life was cut short. Witnesses claim the apparition appears at night or in the early morning hours, sometimes at the tip of the building's wedge-shaped corner, as if lingering where his final moments were spent. The figure is often described as dressed in period work clothes, its features indistinct, almost as if blurred by time and shadow. Pedestrians passing the building late at night or in the early hours have occasionally reported seeing this ghostly figure standing silently near the street or on the narrow sidewalks bordering the building. One delivery driver recounted stopping at a crosswalk when he noticed a man standing near the tip of the building, staring outward with an almost lifelike stillness. As he approached to get a better look, the figure seemed to dissolve into the mist and streetlights, leaving only a lingering sense of unease. Residents and office workers have described similar experiences, shadows moving at the periphery of their vision, only to vanish when directly observed, giving the impression that the building itself is alive with memory. The building's interior also seems to carry echoes of the past. Office workers have reported hearing footsteps in hallways that should be empty, particularly during late hours. These footsteps are often described as deliberate, slow, and rhythmic, sounding as if someone is walking carefully along the narrow corridors. Security personnel working night shifts frequently encounter these sounds, and some have reported the feeling of being followed or observed. One security guard described ascending the stairwell late one evening, only to hear a second set of footsteps climbing behind him in perfect synchronization. When he stopped and turned, the stairwell was empty, but the echo of the steps continued for several more moments before fading into silence. Such experiences have repeated over decades, becoming an almost routine part of the building's after-hours atmosphere. Cold spots are another common occurrence. Even in areas with functioning heating and air systems, employees have reported sudden, sharp drops in temperature, often concentrated in narrow hallways or less frequented corners. These chills are described as penetrating, causing goosebumps and a feeling of being watched. One office worker recalled passing the 12th floor corridor and feeling an abrupt chill, as if someone invisible were brushing past her shoulder. The sensation lingered even after she left the area, leaving her with an unsettling awareness that the building may retain traces of the past long after the workers who once labored there have gone. Whispers and faint murmurs have also been reported. Employees alone in offices or stairwells sometimes hear voices that are barely intelligible, drifting from hallways or empty rooms. These whispers are fleeting and inconsistent, yet they create a palpable sense of presence. Some describe them as soft warnings or cautionary sounds, almost as if the building itself is communicating with those who spend time within it. Visitors have reported similar experiences near the edges of the building's pointed facade, where the wind seems to carry faint voices, blending with the sounds of traffic and city life to create an unsettling, almost ethereal atmosphere. Architectural features may contribute to the Flatiron Building's reputation for haunting. Its narrow hallways, acute angles, and reflective surfaces can amplify minor movements, distort sound, and create visual illusions that make shadows appear to move. Yet many witnesses insist that what they experience cannot be explained by design alone. The consistency of reports across decades, combined with the sense of emotional weight and lingering presence described by those who encounter these phenomena, suggests that the building itself may act as a vessel for the memories and energy of its past. Security guards, night cleaners, and long-term office tenants often speak of heightened awareness in certain areas of the building. They report a distinct heaviness in the air, a sensation of eyes following them, or objects subtly displaced as if nudged by unseen hands. While no one can fully explain these occurrences, the stories create a vivid tapestry of experiences that reinforce the Flatiron Building as reputation as a space where the past refuses to remain silent. Visitors, too, sense something unusual. Those who linger near the pointed corner or stand quietly in the lobby at late hours sometimes describe fleeting shadows, sudden chills, and the impression that the building itself is alive with history. Even in daylight, the angled shape and reflective surfaces create visual distortions that can amplify these subtle sensations, giving rise to the impression that the Flatiron Building is more than just architecture. It is a repository for memories, tragedy, and lingering energy. Despite its reputation for ghostly activity, the Flatiron Building remains a bustling office space, a historic landmark, and a celebrated piece of New York City's skyline. Yet for those who spend quiet moments in its corners or traverse its narrow hallways after dark, the building tells a different story, a story of labor, loss, and echoes of a presence that refuses to fade. The spirit of the construction worker, whether real or imagined, seems to linger eternally at the building's sharp tip, a reminder that even in the city that never sleeps, some memories remain, stubbornly alive, woven into the very fabric of stone and steel. The Woolworth Building, located in the heart of Manhattan's financial district, stands as one of New York City's most iconic skyscrapers. Completed in 1913, it was the tallest building in the world at the time, an ambitious symbol of early 20th century innovation and ambition. Its Gothic Revival design, complete with pointed arches, intricate terracotta detailing, and a soaring, ornate spire, has earned it the nickname, the Cathedral of Commerce. Visitors and workers alike are awed by its grandeur. Yet beneath the surface of this architectural marvel lies a darker, lesser-known story, a history imbued with whispers of the supernatural, lingering presences and unexplained phenomena that have haunted the building for over a century. One of the most frequently reported phenomena in the Woolworth Building is the SHL of footsteps echoing through its upper floors. Employees working late at night or during early morning hours often hear the unmistakable sound of shoes against polished floors and stairwells where no one is present. Security guards and janitorial staff have provided detailed accounts of these experiences. One security officer, during a routine patrol on the 28th floor, described walking down a dimly lit corridor when he suddenly heard another set of footsteps following him. When he stopped and listened, the echo continued, perfectly synchronized with his own steps. Yet when he turned to check, the hallway was completely empty. Experiences like these are reported so consistently that many employees have come to accept them as an unspoken part of life in the building. Shadowy figures are another common component of the building's haunted reputation. Numerous witnesses have described fleeting silhouettes at the periphery of their vision, particularly in stairwells, corridors, and offices on the higher floors. These figures often vanish when looked at directly, leaving a chilling sense of being observed. One janitor recounted cleaning an empty office late one evening when he saw a dark figure at the far end of the hall. He approached cautiously, only for the shadow to dissipate into the darkness. Such encounters are not isolated. They occur repeatedly, across decades, creating a sense that the Woolworth Building itself holds memories or residual energy from the past, a silent witness to the countless people who have passed through its halls. Cold spots are another phenomenon that has unsettled workers and visitors. Even in areas where climate control maintains a comfortable temperature, sudden drops in heat are reported in isolated corners, stairwells, or unused offices. These chills often bring goosebumps and a sense of unease. One office worker described walking past a narrow hallway on the 24th floor when an icy draft enveloped her, accompanied by the unmistakable sensation of eyes upon her. Even after leaving the area, the feeling lingered, a subtle but persistent reminder of an unseen presence. Cold spots and sudden drafts are particularly prevalent in sections of the building that are rarely visited, amplifying the sense that unseen forces may occupy spaces where human activity is minimal. Whispers and murmurs have also been reported, often so faint that they are difficult to discern. Employees working alone in offices or stairwells sometimes hear voices carried through the corridors, their source impossible to locate. These whispers are fleeting and inconsistent, yet they leave an impression of someone or something you're attempting to communicate or interact with the living. In certain instances, the whispers seem to respond to the movements of the listener, creating a disorienting and unnerving sensation. Visitors to the building have also reported hearing subtle murmurs near stairwells and lobbies, particularly in quiet moments when the building's usual bustle has subsided. The building's history adds context to these unexplained experiences. During its construction, hundreds of laborers worked under intense and sometimes dangerous conditions. While records of fatal accidents are limited, the demanding labor, long hours, and early 20th century construction practices likely resulted in injuries and, in some cases, death. Paranormal enthusiasts theorize that the energy of these stressful and tragic events may have left an imprint on the building, manifesting today as footsteps, cold drafts, shadows, and whispers. Over the decades, the Woolworth Building has housed countless offices and tenants, each adding layers of human emotion, stress, and activity that may continue to echo through its halls. The architecture itself contributes to the building's eerie atmosphere. High ceilings, long corridors, reflective surfaces, and narrow stairwells can distort sound and shadow, making footsteps seem closer and movement appear more mysterious than it is. Mirrors and polished floors can reflect fleeting shapes that seem to vanish upon a second glance. Yet many witnesses insist that what they experience cannot be entirely attributed to architectural quirks. The consistency and specificity of reports over decades suggest that the Woolworth Building may indeed retain some trace of the past, a silent record of human experience embedded in its walls. Security staff, janitors, and late-night office workers often describe a heightened awareness in certain areas. Hallways feel heavier, shadows seem to shift, and objects occasionally move slightly without explanation. These subtle phenomena create a persistent sense of unease, as if the building itself is a living entity, observing those who traverse its corridors. Employees learn to navigate these sensations, but even routine nights are occasionally interrupted by moments that are difficult to rationalize, leaving lasting impressions of mystery. Visitors sometimes experience fleeting glimpses or sudden chills, especially in quiet moments near stairwells, lobbies, or upper floors. The combination of shadow, sound, and sensation gives the Woolworth Building an aura that is difficult to ignore, creating the impression that it is more than just an architectural achievement. It is a place where the past lingers, where echoes of human presence, both mundane and tragic, continue to exist. Despite its reputation for the unexplained, the Woolworth Building remains a functioning office space and a celebrated historical landmark. Yet for those who spend time in its upper floors after hours, or who linger in dimly lit corridors, the building tells a story beyond steel, stone, and terracotta. It is a structure where history and mystery intertwine, where echoes of the past footsteps, shadows, whispers, and chills linger as subtle reminders that even in one of the world's busiest cities, some spirits refuse to rest. The MetLife Building, an enormous fixture of the Midtown Manhattan skyline, has long been a symbol of corporate ambition and modernist architecture. Originally known as the Pan Am Building, it was completed in 1963 and, at the time, stood as one of the largest office buildings in the world. Its sheer scale and dominating presence make it impossible to ignore. A monolith of steel, glass, and concrete towering above the streets below. Yet behind its modernist exterior and bustling office floors lies a quieter, more mysterious story. For decades, employees, security personnel, and visitors have reported strange and unexplained occurrences within its walls, phenomena that hint at the presence of something unseen, something lingering just beyond the limits of perception. Among the most commonly reported experiences are unusual events involving the elevators. Workers arriving early in the morning or leaving late at night frequently describe elevator doors opening or closing on their own, without any call or apparent reason. In some instances, elevators have moved between floors without passengers, stopping precisely where no one expects them to, as if guided by an invisible hand. A security guard recounted a particularly unsettling experience. During a routine late-night patrol, he entered an elevator that immediately began to descend, despite no one pressing the buttons. As he reached for the emergency stop, he heard faint footsteps echoing in the empty car, synchronized with the rhythm of his own movements. When the doors opened at the next floor, the hallways were entirely empty, and the footsteps abruptly ceased. Experiences like this are repeated across decades, suggesting that the elevators themselves are more than mechanical devices. They may act as conduits for unseen energies or presences. Flickering lights are another phenomenon frequently reported in the building. Workers describe sudden, inexplicable flashes or dimming of lights, sometimes accompanied by a subtle hum or vibration. These flickers often appear in patterns, almost rhythmic in nature, creating the unsettling impression that the building itself is communicating in some hidden language. Employees working late in isolated offices or corridors describe shadows moving independently of any object, cast by the intermittent lighting, producing a sensation that the walls are alive, observing, or reacting to their presence. In the quieter moments of the night, when the usual bustle of Midtown has faded, these lights and shadows combine to create an atmosphere that is both eerie and tangible, leaving a lingering impression of unease. Cold spots are another hallmark of the MetLife building's unexplained activity. Even with climate control systems operating normally, employees have reported sudden and sharp drops in temperature in specific areas, particularly in stairwells, corners of long corridors, or upper floors that see little traffic. These chills often bring goosebumps and a sensation of being watched. One executive recalled walking past a stairwell on the 28th floor when an icy draft enveloped her, coupled with the unmistakable feeling that someone or something was observing her from the shadows. The chill persisted long after she left the area, a reminder that the building holds an energy that seems to transcend time and occupancy. Shadowy figures have also been sighted, often at the periphery of vision, appearing and disappearing with an almost deliberate elusiveness. Office workers, janitors, and security personnel alike have reported fleeting silhouettes moving across corridors or lingering near stairwells. One janitor described cleaning an empty office late one night, only to see a dark figure standing at the far end of the hall. As he approached cautiously, the figure vanished into the darkness, leaving only the faint echo of movement behind. Witnesses often describe an overwhelming sensation of being observed, as if the building itself is aware of their presence. Whispers and soft, unintelligible voices add to the building's eerie reputation. Employees working alone have occasionally reported hearing faint murmurs drifting down hallways or through empty offices. These whispers seem to move with the listener, sometimes fading when directly addressed, as if responding to their awareness. Visitors who linger in quieter areas of the building have also sensed these subtle sounds, often attributing them to the natural acoustics of a large office space. But the consistency and emotional impact of the reports suggest something more enigmatic at work. The history of the MetLife building provides some context for these phenomena. Constructed during a period of rapid expansion and urban growth, it replaced older structures and transformed the Midtown skyline. Thousands of workers were involved in its construction, often under high pressure and physically demanding conditions. While no major accidents are publicly documented, The human energy, ambition, and tension poured into its creation may have left a residual imprint, manifesting decades later as cold spots, flickering lights, footsteps, and fleeting shadows. Additionally, the building has housed countless tenants and office workers, each contributing their own layer of activity, emotion, and stress, potentially amplifying these subtle but persistent disturbances. Those who spend late hours in the building report heightened awareness and sensitivity to the atmosphere. Security personnel, janitors, and office employees describe hallways feeling heavier, shadows shifting subtly, and an almost tangible sense of being watched. The patterns of footsteps, cold spots, and whispering voices are so consistent that many have learned to navigate the building with an unspoken understanding of its unusual tendencies. Even during daylight hours, when the building is crowded and bustling, moments of unease still occur. Shadows flit in reflective surfaces, corridors echo with distant sounds, and the sheer scale of the building amplifies sensations that are otherwise difficult to describe. Despite its reputation for unexplained activity, the MetLife building remains a thriving hub of business and a celebrated New York landmark. Yet for those who traverse its corridors after hours or work alone in its upper floors, the building tells a story beyond architecture and commerce. It is a space where the past lingers, where human presence, ambition, and perhaps unseen energies converge. The footsteps, flickering lights, cold spots, and shadowy figures are a subtle reminder that even in the heart of Midtown Manhattan, the building holds secrets that refuse to rest, keeping alive the sense that the MetLife building is not merely a structure of steel and glass, but a living, breathing monument to the mysteries of the unseen. 70 Pine Street, a Gothic skyscraper rising proudly in the financial district, is one of Lower Manhattan's most storied buildings. Completed in 1932, it was once the tallest building in the area, a beacon of ambition during a period when the city's skyline was rapidly evolving. Its Art Deco design, narrow vertical lines, and imposing facade give it a commanding presence, but behind its architectural grandeur lies a history intertwined with tragedy, labor, and, according to many, the supernatural. Over the decades, countless employees, security personnel, and visitors have reported strange and unsettling occurrences, suggesting that 70 Pine Street is more than steel, stone, and glass. It is a vessel for echoes of the past, harboring energies that refuse to rest. The most frequently reported phenomenon in the building involves footsteps echoing through empty corridors. Employees working late into the night often hear the unmistakable sound of shoes striking the polished floors, moving in a deliberate and measured rhythm, even when no one else is present. Security guards on after-hours patrols have described following these sounds down stairwells and hallways, only to find them disappearing abruptly, leaving a chilling silence behind. One night, a janitor on the 45th floor recounted walking past an old office suite when the distinct sound of a person pacing echoed from inside. Cautiously, he opened the door to check, and the room was empty. Yet the footsteps continued briefly before fading, as if the building itself were replaying a memory embedded in its walls. Elevators are another source of unexplained activity. Doors have been reported opening and closing on their own, sometimes moving between floors without passengers, stopping in areas where no one expects them to appear. One security officer described entering an elevator late at night and pressing the button for the lobby, only to feel the car descend rapidly before halting on the 38th floor. The doors opened to reveal an empty hallway bathed in dim emergency lighting. He stepped out cautiously, only to feel an immediate chill, accompanied by a faint, distant whisper that seemed to fade as he moved closer. Such incidents have been recounted by multiple employees over the years, reinforcing the building's reputation for unexplained phenomena. Cold spots are another hallmark of 70 Pine Street's supernatural reputation. Even with modern climate control, certain areas of the building can drop in temperature suddenly, creating a sharp, penetrating chill. These cold areas are often reported near abandoned offices, narrow stairwells, and corners of seldom-used hallways. Employees have described goosebumps, shivers, and a sense of dread when passing through these spaces. One long-term tenant recalled walking past an old storage room on the 50th floor when an icy draft enveloped him, accompanied by the feeling that he was being watched. Even after leaving the area, the sensation lingered, a subtle yet persistent reminder of the building's mysterious presence. Shadowy figures are another feature of the building's haunted lore. Witnesses frequently describe fleeting shapes at the edge of their vision, often near the old elevators or in dimly lit corridors. These silhouettes vanish when approached, leaving a lingering sense of observation. One visitor described looking down a long hallway on the 42nd floor and noticing a dark figure standing silently near the far end. As he stepped forward, the figure dissolved into the shadows, leaving only a faint echo of movement behind. Many accounts suggest that these apparitions are tied to the building's history. Perhaps the lingering spirits of workers who perished during its construction or early years of operation. Whispers and faint murmurs add to the building's eerie atmosphere. Employees working alone have reported hearing voices drifting through corridors, sometimes accompanied by subtle creaks or groans of the building settling. These sounds often seem to follow the listener, fading when directly addressed but returning moments later, creating an almost interactive sensation of presence. Visitors in the building's lobby or stairwells have also noted similar phenomena, claiming to hear faint conversations or low murmurs where no one else is nearby. The building's history lends context to these unexplained occurrences. Constructed during a period of intense competition in the skyscraper boom, 70 Pine Street was built under demanding conditions. Many laborers worked long hours under stressful circumstances, and accidents were not uncommon. Some workers reportedly lost their lives during the early years of the building's operation, whether due to falls, machinery mishaps, or the hazards inherent to early 20th century office life. Paranormal researchers suggest that the emotional intensity, trauma, and effort poured into the building's construction may have left residual energy that manifests today as footsteps, shadows, cold spots, and mysterious noises. The architecture itself seems to amplify these sensations. Narrow hallways, long corridors, high ceilings, and reflective surfaces can distort sound and shadow, making footsteps echo unnaturally and fleeting shapes appear to move independently. Stairwells, in particular, have been cited repeatedly as areas where unexplained phenomena are most noticeable. The combination of height, history, and human activity may create an environment where subtle energies are concentrated, producing experiences that are difficult to explain rationally. Late-night personnel often report heightened awareness while in the building. Security guards, janitors, and office workers describe hallways feeling heavier, shadows seeming to shift, and an almost tangible sense of being observed. Objects have been reported subtly displaced, lights flickering in isolated rooms, and doors opening unexpectedly. Even employees accustomed to these occurrences admit that certain moments, such as standing alone in a stairwell or passing a deserted office can, create a profound sense of unease, as if the building is alive with the memories and presences of those who came before. Despite its reputation for hauntings, 70 Pine Street continues to operate as an active office space and remains a historic landmark of Lower Manhattan. Its Gothic spires and soaring design continue to impress both locals and tourists. But for those who spend time in its quieter corridors or after hours, the building conveys a different story. It is a space where history, tragedy, and human activity intersect, creating an atmosphere in which the past is never fully absent. Footsteps, shadows, cold drafts, and whispers persist as reminders that even in the heart of New York City's financial district, some presences refuse to rest, lingering quietly within the walls of 70 Pine Street. One Wall Street, a towering landmark in the heart of Manhattan's financial district, is more than just a marvel of architecture and engineering. It is a repository of decades of ambition, stress, and human energy. Completed in 1931, this skyscraper has long been a hub for finance, law, and corporate activity, hosting generations of executives, clerks, and workers who navigated the high-pressure world of Wall Street. Its imposing stone and steel exterior, sleek vertical lines, and ornate detailing make it a striking addition to New York's skyline. Yet beyond its celebrated architecture lies a quieter, more mysterious side, a history of unexplained occurrences, strange noises, and lingering presences that suggest the building may be haunted by the echoes of its past. Among the most frequently reported phenomena are whispers in the boardrooms. Employees who have worked late into the night describe hearing faint voices drifting through empty offices, murmuring conversations, or indistinct phrases that seem to vanish when approached. One long-term tenant recalled staying after hours to finalize a report and suddenly hearing murmurs coming from a distant boardroom. The voices were too soft to decipher, yet their tone carried a distinct urgency, as if a meeting was still in progress despite the absence of any occupants. When she cautiously entered the room, it was empty, the chairs neatly arranged around the long table, and the only sound was the subtle hum of the building itself. Such experiences are not isolated. Numerous accounts from security personnel, cleaning staff, and after-hours employees suggest that these whispers are persistent and consistent over time. Footsteps echoing in stairwells and corridors are another common phenomenon. Late at night, when the building is largely empty, the sound of shoes striking polished floors can be heard ascending or descending stairwells that no one is using. One security guard recounted patrolling the 27th floor and hearing a distinct series of footsteps following him up the stairs. When he paused and turned to confront the source, the stairs were entirely vacant. The steps continued briefly before fading, leaving him with an unnerving impression that he had been silently observed. Employees across various departments report similar experiences, noting that the sound of movement often appears in predictable patterns, almost as if replaying the daily routines of former occupants long after their presence has physically departed. Elevators in One Wall Street also play a role in the building's supernatural reputation. Doors have been observed opening and closing without command, sometimes moving between floors with no passengers inside. A particularly chilling incident involved a late-night security guard who stepped into an elevator to descend to the lobby. Midway, the car unexpectedly stopped on an upper floor, and the doors slowly opened to reveal a deserted hallway. The sensation of being watched was so strong that he could feel a tension in the air, as though unseen eyes were tracking his every movement. Similar reports have persisted over the years, leading many to believe that these mechanical anomalies may be connected to the residual energy of the building's past occupants. Flickering lights are another hallmark of the building's unexplained activity, even when electrical systems are functioning normally. Office lights and stairwell bulbs occasionally flicker or dim without explanation. These visual disruptions often occur in conjunction with other phenomena, such as whispers, footsteps, or cold spots, reinforcing the impression that the building itself is responding to the presence of the living. Employees describe shadows seeming to stretch and move independently in the dim light, creating an unsettling atmosphere that lingers long after the initial flicker subsides. Cold spots are frequently reported in isolated areas, such as unused offices, stairwells, and corners of rarely visited corridors. Even with modern climate control systems, temperatures can drop suddenly, producing goosebumps and an immediate sense of discomfort. One executive described walking past a closed office on the 15th floor, only to be enveloped by a sudden icy chill. She felt an almost tangible weight in the air, as if the room itself were charged with energy, and the sensation persisted even after she moved on. These cold areas are often associated with other paranormal experiences, reinforcing the idea that certain locations within the building act as focal points for residual activity. The history of One Wall Street helps illuminate why such phenomena might persist. The building has been home to decades of high-stakes finance, long hours, and high-pressure work environments. Its occupants have endured intense stress, ambitious targets, and personal sacrifice, all within the confines of steel and stone. Some workers passed away unexpectedly on the premises due to accidents, sudden illness, or other unforeseen circumstances. Paranormal enthusiasts suggest that the energy generated during these decades of human activity, ambition, tension, and sometimes tragedy, has left an imprint on the building, creating conditions conducive to residual hauntings. Shadowy figures have been reported at the periphery of vision, often near elevators, stairwells, or hallways. Witnesses describe dark silhouettes moving subtly, vanishing when approached, leaving only the sensation that someone is watching. Many attribute these figures to the spirits of former workers, silently roaming the spaces they once occupied, observing the living in quiet persistence. One janitor reported seeing a figure standing near the 12th floor elevators late at night, completely motionless. As he stepped closer, it disappeared into the darkness, leaving only an echo of a presence behind. Visitors and employees alike note that these phenomena are most pronounced during quieter hours, late at night or early in the morning, when the hustle of Wall Street has subsided. The building's architecture, with its long corridors, narrow hallways, and high ceiling seems to amplify sounds, distort shadows, and enhance the sensation of unseen presence. Even routine noises can take on an eerie quality, making the experience feel tangible, deliberate, and sometimes chilling. Despite its reputation for unexplained activity, One Wall Street continues to function as a bustling office building and remains a cornerstone of the financial district. Yet for those who work late, patrol its stairwells, or linger in its corridors, the building offers more than history and commerce. It is a place where the past lingers, where the energy of ambition, stress, and unexpected loss persists, and where footsteps, whispers, flickering lights, and shadowy figures serve as quiet reminders that the spirits of the past may still walk among the living. To Broadway, a striking building overlooking the East River in Manhattan's financial district, is more than just a hub of commerce and offices. Its location and design make it a prominent feature of Lower Manhattan. Yet beyond its functional role, the building has acquired a reputation for mysterious and unsettling phenomena. For decades, employees, security personnel, and after-hours staff have reported experiences that suggest the building harbors more than just tenants. It may also hold echoes of the past, residual energy, and perhaps even lingering spirits. Among the most commonly reported phenomena are cold spots, abrupt and unexplained drops in temperature that seem to concentrate in certain corners, offices, or stairwells. Employees working late at night frequently recount walking through corridors and suddenly feeling an icy chill envelop them, even when heating systems are fully operational. One security guard on the 14th floor described patrolling a rarely used hallway when the temperature plummeted sharply. The sensation was immediate, raising goosebumps along his arms, and was accompanied by a distinct feeling that someone or something was observing him from the shadows. Though he scanned the hallway repeatedly, it remained empty. Yet the eerie sensation lingered for several minutes, fading only after he exited the area. Shadows flitting across empty offices are another hallmark of Broadway's strange reputation. Witnesses often describe peripheral glimpses of dark shapes moving across rooms or hallways where no one is present. One after-hours janitor recounted entering an office suite on the 22nd floor only to catch sight of a shadow retreating behind a row of desks. As he approached, the shadow seemed to vanish into the dim lighting, leaving only the faint echo of movement. These fleeting figures are often described as indistinct, sometimes human-like, yet impossibly fleeting, creating a persistent sense of unease. Visitors and employees alike report similar experiences, particularly in areas that have remained relatively unchanged despite multiple renovations over the decades. Whispers and murmurs are also frequently noted. Staff working alone late in the evening or early morning often hear faint conversations coming from offices that are unoccupied. These voices are typically low, indistinct, and difficult to locate. Yet, they carry a sense of purpose, as though the people involved are discussing matters of importance. One tenant described sitting at his desk on the 18th floor, finishing paperwork past midnight, when he began to hear the subtle sound of murmuring behind him. Investigating the source revealed only empty offices and quiet hallways. Yet the whispers persisted intermittently, fading when he approached directly. Such experiences are common enough to suggest a phenomenon that is both consistent and localized, tied to the building's history and activity. Elevators into Broadway have also been linked to unusual occurrences. Doors sometimes open or close without input, occasionally stopping on floors where no passengers are present. One late-night incident involved an elevator ascending unexpectedly while a security guard attempted to descend to the lobby. The car stopped on an upper floor, and the doors slid open to reveal a dimly lit corridor devoid of anyone. The guard felt an immediate, almost tangible presence, as though the building itself were watching him. Though he quickly exited, the sensation of being observed remained long after he returned to the lobby. The building's architecture and history likely contribute to these phenomena. Constructed in the early 20th century and extensively renovated over the years, to Broadway has housed countless workers, tenants, and offices, each leaving subtle imprints on its atmosphere. Long hours, high pressure, business activities, and occasional accidents may have left residual energy, a lingering presence that occasionally manifests through temperature shifts, sounds, or visual anomalies. Even the building's narrow hallways, high ceilings, and reflective surfaces can distort sound and shadow, creating conditions that heighten the perception of unseen activity. Many who encounter these experiences describe an immediate sense of being watched, whether walking through dim corridors, climbing stairwells, or passing empty offices. There is often a palpable tension, a feeling that attention is focused on the living from an unseen source. These sensations are sometimes accompanied by flickering lights or the subtle movement of objects, reinforcing the impression that the building itself is aware of the people within it. Even brief encounters can leave a lasting emotional impact, making employees and visitors cautious during late-night hours. Some witnesses suggest that the building's long history of renovations has concentrated these energies. As walls were moved, offices reconfigured, and floors repurposed, traces of the past may have become layered within the structure, creating focal points for the residual activity that continues to manifest. Certain floors and offices, particularly those that have remained largely unchanged, are more frequently associated with cold spots, shadows, and whispers, suggesting that the memory of past activity is somehow preserved in the fabric of the building. Despite its eerie reputation, the Broadway remains a bustling hub for businesses and tenants, a landmark in one of the busiest financial centers in the world. Yet, for those who spend time within its corridors after hours, the building reveals a quieter, more mysterious side. Footsteps echo in empty hallways, cold drafts settle in corners, shadows flicker and vanish, and faint murmurs drift from offices long abandoned. These experiences leave a lingering impression that the building remembers, that the energy of those who lived and worked within its walls is never fully gone. For those brave enough to traverse its hallways late at night or explore its stairwells in quiet hours too, Broadway is more than a site of commerce. It is a living monument to the countless lives, stories, and energies that have passed through it. Every cold spot, whisper, shadow, and flickering light serves as a reminder that even in the heart of Manhattan, the past refuses to remain silent, lingering silently within the walls of 2 Broadway. As we descend from the towering heights of New York City's haunted skyscrapers, we are reminded that even the most modern and iconic structures can harbor whispers of the past. Behind the glass, steel, and stone, stories of loss, mystery, and lingering spirits persist, quietly observing the living from shadows and corners. Each building carries its own history, each haunting its own tale, inviting the curious to explore and to respect the unseen forces that dwell within. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the spectral side of the city that never sleeps. If these stories gave you chills, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your own experiences in the comments below. Until next time, keep your lights dim, your senses sharp, and remember, sometimes the tallest buildings hide the deepest secrets.